We are live.
We're live.
We're
Oh
live.
my gosh, we're live, dude. We're back for book 2 of book 3. This is amazing.
Book 2 of book 3. That's right. Yeah. Not
Yeah,
confusing
that's
at
right.
all.
But yeah, so we're jumping back in now. We are going over book 2, Hearthstone, which is fun. This got kind of a nostalgic near and dear because I played Hearthstone for many years. No relation. But yeah, book 2 of Memories of Ice, which
Yeah.
is really exciting. And I think we do this one a little bit faster, or at least
It
I
felt
think
like it,
so.
but I don't think so. I think this is.
Mm,
I think it is like 2 weeks.
yeah.
I
Well,
just didn't read for
it's
the
been a
first week
little.
because we were originally gonna
Mm,
postpone it an extra week because I'm taking
yep,
a vacation, and then we were just like, "You want to just knock it out in a week?"
yeah,
And then we did. We blasted through it.
we did. Right, and that's what I was about to mention is that you're going to take a break, and so I think and I'll kind of mention this in a little bit, but we'll kind of look at our schedule for book 3, but. Yeah, overall, I'm very glad that we decided to make sure to get this one knocked out. And also, that means that, like, while you're gone, you'll be able to do some reading on some Malazan if you've got some time and would like to do that. So that'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah. So overall, thank you and welcome to everybody who is joining us. Of course, I'm Ian, and this is
I'm Matt. Hello.
Matt, and this is
Hello.
Hobby Vomit, and we're going to be going through Memories of Ice. We're going for those of you who have not seen this series or have not seen what we've done with Deadhouse Gates. We're going to go through book by book of Memories of Ice. These are the parts, but they're just called books, where we basically, after each read, will go and discuss them and review them. Mostly discuss, not really a review in the sense of the word. But just going to share our thoughts and opinions and just really gab about how much we're enjoying it and what we think so far. But this is a lot of spoilers for this part of the book, but we've not read ahead, so we can't spoil anything near the end of the book. So this is meant to also be kind of a read along. But there's also a lot of people who come back who have read this book who just want to hear what we have to say and just kind of join in on the discussion. And we're just so glad to have you all here. It just makes it really fun when all these veterans jump in and share their opinions and give us those sly smirks because they know it's about to happen and we're just like fumbling for some foothold.
What are you talking
But yeah,
about? We've nailed every prediction we've made in this series.
I was
We're
trying to
batting at
go through. I was
100.
like, I'm pretty sure I'm like maybe I've got like one going for me or something on Memories of Ice so far.
Yeah. I just copy and pasted the ones from last time
Yeah.
because we missed, not even missed, with that classic Steven Erickson and Malaz, and he's
Mhm.
like, I'm going to set all this stuff up. Now
Yep.
I'm just going to set up a bunch of other stuff,
Mhm.
and then we'll get back to the other stuff later.
Yep. Yep. He's like, I've set up the southern front. Let me set up the other
Yeah.
fronts too.
Yep.
Yeah, and then overall, we're keeping roughly about a 2 week pace, but just note that as we go into future books, that they may take a little bit longer. Especially with this next one, it's roughly about 75 pages longer than the previous one. Also, Matt will be traveling, and I've got some other stuff going on as well with research. So maybe another 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe even 3 weeks before the next one. But we're definitely trucking through and having a great time at it.
Yeah.
And so now, if you're not familiar with the series, that means you haven't watched the part 1 of this. So you should go back and watch part 1 because we're about to spoil a whole bunch of stuff from Memories of Ice. So, take your time, pause this video, go back, watch the other one,
It's super
read book
quick.
two.
You can knock
Yep.
it out in a
Yeah,
mere
yeah.
2.5 hours.
We are at the beginnings of our film career, apparently.
Yeah.
I think we now currently have like more content on Malazan than most seasons on Amazon.
Yeah. We're nothing if not concise.
Yeah. It's like a running, I think I mentioned this before, but it's like a running joke with my students that if I ever say like one more thing, then we're going to be like another 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think we wrapped the last video at about 2.5 hours, and I remember thinking like we didn't even talk about everything that we
Yeah.
could have and or I wanted to because
Mhm.
there's just so much, and I have a feeling that we will repeat that here.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe this will be the one. We get 90 minutes in, we're like, I'm out. Tank's
Well,
dry.
there's an element to it that's like hard to predict, which is how like it's hard to predict how much is getting carried into the book
Mm-hmm.
from previous books, and I feel like also because Gardens of the Moon and Death House Gates were very different, right? They didn't really like bounce off of each other. This book is kind of carrying two books on its shoulders, or rather, like it's sort of standing on top of two books, is what I should be saying. It's like standing on top of two. And so it kind of brings in a lot from two different books, whereas like normally you would just be bringing in from the previous book, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't quite happen. So I don't know. I guess we'll just see how it goes. But
Yeah.
we could probably gab about that all day. Might as well just go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, let's jump in. So normally what we'll start with is a high level overview of the previous part, just so you can get caught up. And I've simply just copy and pasted for my notes. So what happened in part 1 of Memories of Ice? We put the stage got set for an alliance of former rivalry armies to unite against a new religious foe, the Panyan Domin. And then also an even bigger stage for an even bigger war was set against the crippled god. And that's kind of, we met a bunch of groups of people. There's the caravan people. There's demons slash raptors with sword arms. But really it's like just a setup for like what's happening, what's about to happen. And really to me, it felt like the soul of part 1 was that big like parlay and that creation of that alliance. So yeah, that's what happened in part 1. And so then now we'll just talk a high level overview of part 2, and then we'll kind of get into specifics. So what happened in part 2, Hearthstone? So, and by the way, Ian and I don't really discuss notes, so there might be something Ian's like that didn't happen. Or, that's not what that's not what I thought.
We're doing good so far.
Yeah, so far, yeah, we're checking out. So the Panyan Domin close in on Kapistan. We learn more of the histories of the Barghast, the Talani Moss, and the Jagat. The plan to unite the Barghast clans in order to reinforce Kapistan is undertaken. I put time to duel. We start to surround the Panyan Domin, and then the greater war waged by the crippled god continues to flourish. Any other high-level things you want to add in there?
So I think it's all. We'll definitely get into this, but I guess it's also worth mentioning that the crippled god is assembling his armies, not just the Pinyon Domin, but also his additional allies, is maybe the right way to say it. So he's assembling all of his pieces.
Yep.
Yep.
So new section that I sometimes forget, but I did add it in here. Just quickly covering our previous predictions to see if we got anything right, wrong, or just hasn't happened yet. So we had 4 predictions from last time, or at least the ones that we wrote down. So first was that Tattersail isn't going to stay at the forefront of Silver Fox. Don't know. Hasn't happened yet. Whiskey Jack dies. Hasn't happened yet. So not wrong.
He's more alive than ever.
He is more alive than ever. Yeah, that's true. Perron accepts his place, which was at his place as the leader of the Bridge Burners. Mm-hmm. No, not really.
He is settling into it a bit more. But yeah,
a bit more, yeah. Because he was very, he didn't really want to do it.
No, and he still kind of doesn't. But like he's definitely he's doing a good job so far.
Yeah,
people are coming to like him. So
yeah,
he hasn't been stabbed yet. He's
not been stabbed yet. And then finally, that Buke makes a big sacrifice, and I think Buke's name was in this part like once. So and he did not make a big sacrifice.
I'd still be willing. Like, if this was like a betting game, I'd still be willing to take another round of bets on that one.
Oh yeah, me
because
too.
It feels like it's still being set up.
I think so. Yep. I think so. Okay, so those are our previous predictions. The high-level overview of the current part, and then what happened in the previous part, and then now we'll just kind of free flow into whatever we want to talk about first. So if there's anything that you're itching to talk about, kick us off.
So much. Okay, so I feel like there's the thing I want to talk about the most. I might go with like third most to start us off, though.
Well, before that, we got to do the classic, even though we both know what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Did you like Book 2, Hearthstone?
I actually really liked Book 2. I think the reveals in Book 2. So interestingly, Deadhouse Gates, I think in Book 2 did like a big reveal of Shadow Throne, right? Or maybe I'm misremembering. I think it was Book 2 that had the big reveal. And so it's kind of neat that like we are kind of getting some like pretty significant lore reveals in Book 2. I would also say that I was thinking about this today, but if Deadhouse Gates, like Guardians of the Moon and like Memories of Ice, it's very noticeably the same author, which is really neat. It became even more like Gardens of Moon, though. Like it does feel like Deadhouse Gates is a different kind of book than Gardens of the Moon and Memories of Ice. And so I'm actually still really enjoying like all the different fantasy tropes that are getting woven in. So I really liked it. But ultimately, if this is not an action part, really, this is still very much a like the plot thickens.
I was about to
But
say,
I loved how all the pieces came together, and especially the storyline with Talk has
oh my
been
gosh, yeah.
really, really exciting so far. So,
It seems like, I know Gardens of the Moon wasn't broken down into 4 parts; it
mhm.
was 7, but it still feels like, it feels like so far, all of the books, if I had to guess, would be part 1, what the fuck? Part
Yeah,
2, lore, 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 lore. Part 3, oh shit. Part 4, oh shit. And that's
pretty much.
that's pretty much what we're gonna get every time. So we're in the like lore, lore, lore part of the
Yep.
book, but he just writes lore
Hmm.
in such an interesting way.
Yep.
But we'll talk about more when we talk about my
Hmm.
my quote unquote dislikes. It's not
Hmm.
really a dislike, but I am finding this one to be really dense as far as like so much just happened in 200 pages, and like I was trying to like when I took my notes in here because there's on every chapter there's like those
Yep.
scene breaks. So every time there was
Hmm.
a major scene break, I'd be like, let me just sum up what happened, and then I've got like pages of notes still because there's so much, and that's me leaving out arguably important things because I'm just trying to narrow it down. But like there's a small part of me that I'm just like, give me a small break, please. Like, give me a little bit of breathing room. I mean, I love it, but it really is like my mind needs to be on when I'm reading this. Otherwise, I'm gonna
Hmm.
miss something, which is a pro
Yeah,
and a
it
con.
was. So it's really funny because yeah, obviously our like readers and viewers can't see our notes, but I tend to read a little bit later than Matt, and then just read a lot more. So like Matt will typically start like a few days before me, and then I'll kind of read, and then have like a big burn at the end. And so I was going this weekend to like add my notes, and I jumped into our collective notes, and I'm like, well, I have a lot of things I want to say about the plot, so I'll like, go into plots, and I just see this like I'm like
A
scrolling,
novel of yeah.
and I was like, nope, and I just created my own sections of notes like in a separate area called Ian's notes, and it's
Yeah.
just my notes there.
There's so much that happens that I like because I write my notes and then before we do our video, I'll go back through and like re-look at my notes because it really is like there's so much that happens by the time I'm at the end and I'm like, let me just refresh. I'm like, man, like I remember like I remember what's happened, but like some of the specifics, I'm like, I don't even remember writing that note, but it's so important. There's just everything is so important. I can't retain all of it, and then that's true of like we're stacking that on top of knowledge, like tomes of knowledge, and it's just it feels like I'm learning a true and real history, and I'm trying to memorize it, which is hard, but it's
Yeah,
really
you
fun.
need Duker. That's what you need.
I
You need
need
Duker
Duker.
back.
Yeah, I need a personal Duker.
Yeah.
But yeah, uh, that I liked it as well. All that to
Mhm.
say, I loved it. I mean, I'm having a great time. I'm excited to see what comes next. But overall, it's like weirdly, I'm just captivated every time I
Mhm.
read it. I can't stop reading it, and just everything is just like, oh wow, that's cool, it's cool, it's cool. Which we'll say for every
Yeah.
part, I imagine, of every book.
Yeah, I said this at the end of the last of book one when we did our discussion on book one, and it's still very much holding true. Like, Gardens of the Moon got me very excited for what Malazan could be, and just very excited for the characters mostly. Dallas Gates got me very excited for the story and like the tales that could be woven. But like, Memories of Ice is very much just getting me excited for like Malazan as a series. Like it's showing me how those first two books can just like be woven together into a series moving forward. And it's just like if every book is like this, where we just get like this compendium that continues to be built on top of, and that reward, like especially for these discussions that we're doing, but like that reward for getting to know these characters and the history, and like it's very cool.
Yeah, yeah. I think the
Yeah.
discussions at this point for me are like necessary because like like when I talk about books I've read with other people, like if I talk about the Dark Tower or somebody, it's like there are pretty significant moments where it's just like you talk about those moments, or like with Mistborn, it's like you talk about those moments, but every scene of every chapter is those moments. So it's just like I feel like I've got to talk about everything, so don't forget it. But it's crazy. I don't know how somebody writes this. It's like mind blowing how you write this, but yeah, I agree. This one definitely feels like it's opening out even more for the scope of like what's to come for the series. So
I'm
yeah, this
pretty
is
sure
very
Steven
exciting.
Erickson has like his own Warren. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think so too.
He's just like every time he gets to write, like the Warren's just open. He's just like,
Yeah,
ah.
all this really happened somewhere. He is just the Duker.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about let's jump into your third favorite.
My third favorite, but it is something I really want to get into
Yeah.
because I feel like it's just a natural place to start because we had this really crazy cliffhanger in the other book where we had, and forgive me because I'm just kind of going off the narrator's pronunciations, but he pronounces it Gundle, but I think there's like a T in there. I can never remember, but he pronounces it Gundle, and then
Mm-hmm.
Stony Manakis,
Hey, it's Tony Manakis.
Harlow, and then Buke. And so we basically left with them kind of an interesting state where they had been attacked. And we kind of get, I believe it was Grundle, who's like kind of just like fading out. And just kind of fading out to black. And so I thought it'd be kind of a cool thing to start with them. Not just because of the Raptors, although that's a pretty cool aspect as well. But actually, I'll go ahead and just say it right now. The reason why this is my third favorite, though, is it's not because of like Stony and those guys. It's because of the Talon Eye. That was super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just go and lay it out. So we have these mercenaries, right? And they're these two groups of caravans are traveling. One's traveling with this very strange priest, and the other group is traveling with these two necromancers who we know are essentially up to no good, but maybe something interesting happens. And then they get attacked by raptors with freaking swords on their freaking hands, right? And they basically all like nearly get killed. We actually think that they probably do. Well, we didn't really say, we were all like, yeah, they're probably not dead, right? But like that's kind of the way it's portrayed. But then what we come to find out is that they actually don't die because they actually get intercepted and assisted. And so we've kind of find out that the sort of crew of gray swords from Kapustan meet up in the field with Solani Moss, and then those Talani Moss, basically like WTF are these raptors doing? And then they just go on this hunt and just basically hunt everybody down
Yep.
and then save these guys along the way. And one of the kind of coolest things, and I'll just kind of leave it to you, but we actually find out something really, really fascinating that like I want to know more about, which is another reason why this is third, is we find out that they're like in a coma. And we found out in this book, like who instigated that coma.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that the priest that they're traveling with actually like drew them all into this like dream state, which we've only seen one other person do that, which is Krupp, or Kruppa, as it's pronounced by the narrator, who draws them as dream state to like
a nice
save
cruppa.
them.
Nice
Yeah.
cruppa tea.
Yeah, and while Grundle like has no idea that this is happening, he just like wakes up and it's like, hey, where is everybody? Stony actually like awoke in the dream to find out that she was being like guarded over by this like spectral wolf, who we don't know who this god is of this priest Warren, but the spectral wolf actually like works with, not for, but works with this elder god. It's like a loyal companion. This elder god and protected like our group here, which has got me just like super fascinated by this priest. Stony has like a whole conversion, right?
Yeah,
with this mercenary.
She's in the cult now. She's one of them. Like
she's like she's trying to convert people. She's like evangelizing.
She's like, yeah, she seems off to me. But I also feel like, to me, I don't know why, but it felt like because I think it's specifically an elder god. They mentioned that he is a priest of. And so, like, to me, it feels like it's cruel or K-Rule. That's what it's feeling like to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really know. But it is interesting that, like, just them being in that, I don't know what kind of, like, intelligence these Kachel or hunters or whatever they're called
Yeah, the
have.
Cal Hunters.
The Kale Hunters, but enough to where like it's like it pretty much is the old T Rex. Like if you're if you're not moving, you're just standing still. But it does seem
Mhm.
like the extraction of like their souls almost was
Mhm.
necessary because he could have probably just put them to sleep or something. But he specifically like took out their souls, so it seemed like the Kale Hunters thought there's just no point. Which
Yeah,
means like what happens to people's souls if the Kale Hunters like kill them? Does something specific
yeah,
happen, or is that what they're attracted
yeah.
to, or what?
Well, and there's a lot of discussion over death and what happens to the soul, but the way it was kind of, it seemed like it was being portrayed by Stoney, which is just really fascinating, is that they actually were dead. Like it seems like what had happened was he essentially drew their soul into this dream, like into this warren, I guess. But they were actually dead. Like their souls were not in their bodies anymore, but they couldn't go to Hood. And so therefore they were able to return back to their bodies. Kind of like in the same way that with Piran, when he was stabbed in Guards of the Moon, like he died. He did not have
Mm-hmm.
a pulse,
Yeah.
right? For quite a long time, actually, for several minutes in the real world. But because of the twins Opon, he didn't travel through Hood's gates, and so somehow, some way, he's able to like return right to his body, and he's able to be revived. And it seems like this priest has the ability to do that as well, or at least with in conjunction with the power of his elder god, which is just really fascinating. But that just kind of raises the other thing when you were saying about like what does happen, like why was the wolf necessary,
Yeah,
right? Because that's
the wolf is showing up in a lot of places, and I don't
hmm
know who that is
yeah.
really.
Well, and we get yeah, it is showing up in a lot of different places, and so but it didn't like I'm pretty sure I didn't go back for my notes on this one, but I mean, wasn't it a wolf that was presented in the prologue,
Yeah, I think so.
or
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like wolf or wolf like or
like
yeah.
yeah. So that's really fascinating. But overall, I just thought this was like a really cool story with the mercenaries. It's, I mean, pretty much the most significant thing that we get with the mercenaries in this particular book. It's just that they did survive. Arlo did die along with Nitok, but they now have this sort of moment where they find out that the priest saved them. And so now we're kind of curious to see where this goes next. The only thing they've given us so far for like what happens next with this group, which I am very intrigued, is Buke has become increasingly concerned with the two necromancers that he works for,
Mm-hmm.
and we I love that the necromancers are obsessed with the Talani Moss. I just think that's like a really cool little detail of this whole thing. Like they're obsessed to the extent that the like Talani Moss like cannot stand their
Yeah,
presence
I mean
and
Coral
like
Broach is
well
like, ooh, let me can I
yeah
like touch you? And there's like pow.
yeah this is
Basically
like
just like
recounting
slapped him out of the way, Coral Broach at least.
yeah. And the other guy, I love the fact that like I'm pretty sure he knew what would happen. He's just like, well, he's got to learn,
It
you
seems
know.
like Boshelin is like, yeah, I mean, they made it fairly clear, like, he's the smart one.
Yep.
And Corbel Broach is like, not the smart one.
No.
He's just like, oh, that looks interesting. I want to touch it.
Mm.
And like, I want to do these experiments, but we don't have any bodies. Well, I guess we got to kill a bunch of people and use their bodies. Like, that's his line of thinking.
Yep. Well, and apparently he's acting on that line of thinking because, we also were told by Buke that Buke believes that he's actually been going around killing people and stealing their organs.
I'm so
Which
man.
is,
I haven't
yeah,
even like. There's so much going on that I don't even
yeah,
have time to like think. Like I'm like I know what he's doing. Right? He's basically a serial killer. Yeah, harvesting
yeah,
organs, killing people. But like, there's not even a part of me that's like, why? But now I'm thinking
mhm,
like he's obsessed with Talani Moss. They were in
mhm,
like the Jagged Warren. We kind of find out something about the Jagged and the
mhm.
Talani Moss. But like, are they trying to like maybe recreate the ritual that turned the Talani Moss into the like? What's he doing? I never
Yeah,
thought. I don't even have time to
yeah,
stop and think about like what is this guy doing? I have no
mhm.
idea. Seems like it will be significant. Would be my
Right.
guess. Or he's
Well,
just
it's
a serial
just
killer.
always just a serial killer, right? And like it certainly makes you want to take, organ donation off of your driver's license because this guy is going after everybody
Yep.
who's willing to give up a few, right? So But like it's the fact that he's a necromancer, but he's like harvesting people's organs and then just sort of leaving their corpse. It's like a really strange conundrum that yeah, I am very interested to see. But ultimately, I'm also a little worried that like this is how Buke dies, right? Buke is sticking his neck out.
Oh
He's gonna get way
no.
too deep, right? And then that's probably what ends up happening. Is probably some confrontation with Corporal Broach. Maybe not though, right? I don't know.
I can't
Like,
tell if like
yeah,
Corbel. I mean, we just don't know enough like to know
mm,
what are the intentions. Are
yeah,
they bad?
yeah,
Are they good? Are they just like scientific
yeah.
or
It's
what?
true. Well, I always like to say that, like all good things start by killing a lot of people and harvesting their
Yeah,
organs. So
yeah,
I'm sure that he probably just has the best of
yeah,
intentions.
exactly. But yeah, I did find it funny. They're just like they get to Capistan and there's like, ah, wow, this house is cheap. Let's move in. Like as it's like being surrounded and then sieged very shortly after, and
Yeah.
they're like, this is great. The market's great right now. Like, and Caruli too. He's the same deal. He's like, hell yeah. I
Yep.
mean, like a family was brutally murdered here, but like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, my interest rate is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Also, the humor I've really enjoyed the humor of this
it's
book
so
as
good.
well. Yeah. The fact, the interaction between Grundle and Stody when she's telling him the story, he's like,
Hmm.
Caruli moved in, and she's like, yeah, he bought that house. I mean, the previous family did like kill themselves.
Oh yeah,
And
I
then they're
forgot
like,
it was suicide. Yeah.
yeah, the suicide. And then they're like, yeah, the strangest thing was like they found the mom, basically crawling. They found her because of a blood trail. She had tried to crawl out of the house
Yeah.
while her like guts were falling along her, which is a little bit
Yeah,
strange.
like
And
maybe
then,
it wasn't suicide. Oh
yeah,
well.
yeah. No, I think Grown immediately was like, probably what it was is she just needed to let the local grocery guy let him know that she was canceling her
Yeah.
order. just like just the picture of like her like killing herself by like basically seppuku. Then the doorbell rings, and then she's like, "Oh, I gotta go let
Damn
him
it, I
know
forgot to
they're all
cancel my
dead
subscription.
now.
Yeah.
I gotta give him that tip before he leaves."
Yeah.
And then the fact that Stoney's just like, "Could be,
Yeah.
sure."
She's like, yeah, she almost feels like I don't want to say brainwashed. I think she really is just like
Yeah.
she saw the light and is a true
Mhm.
believer, but it does she's acting very like brainwashed. Like very converted very very quickly. But to me it seems like probably for a like I think for good. I think this elder god, I think it's cruel or Karul, and
Mhm.
uh, my interpretation, especially after this part, is that like he good guy, or like leaning good,
Yep.
in all things considered. But yeah, I also found the Gruntle and Buke and
Mm.
especially them their interactions really interesting because Gruntle is grieving pretty hard for was it Carlo? What's his name? Harlow.
Hallow or
Hallow. Yeah,
Harlow. Yeah.
because he watched him sacrifice himself
Yep.
for him, and he's just having a hard time doing that. And like Buke kind of picks him up,
Mm.
which was a big moment considering
Mm.
what Buke has gone through. And yeah, I like that interaction, and it's also interesting that Karuli knows what they're about. He like tells Stony, he's just like, hey, keep an eye on them. They're basically Corley knows they're going to be following Corporal Broach, and he even gives Gruntle that little bird to give to Buke. Tells him to like crush it to powder or something because it will like maybe help him. You know what? I wonder what it is. I wonder if it's like Otatarol. Now that I'm thinking about it, because he does tell him to crush it into a powder or something that maybe Corporal Broach might not be able to like sense them following him. But it seems like Caruli
Fascinating. I
knows they're
didn't
going to do
know that.
that. He knows they're going to follow them, and he's
Mhm.
on board for that. He is also curious, I think. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's really interesting because Otatarol hasn't come up even once
yeah, not once.
so far. So that's actually I didn't think about that. That's really fascinating idea.
Well, speaking of things that there's like potential crossover, and we'll touch on this more later, but like I do find
Mhm.
myself thinking like, especially with the poisoning of the Warrens, like was this the thing they were dealing with? I don't think it was, because I want to say in Deadhouse Gates, the reason why because at one point they're like, don't mess with the Warrens, but I think that was just because all of the Soul Taken and stuff in there were like murdering each other, right? It wasn't like the poison at this point, or was it?
Well, so I think that in Deadhouse Gates, they were talking about the Warrens as being tumultuous, right, and difficult, but the implication was that it was the Soul Taken, but that was, as far as I remember, never actually confirmed. The thing was is that in Deadhouse Gates, we get this scene where the the boy warlock, right, Sorum, I think. But anyway, so he like invites like Duker and that crew to like witness a ritual that he's going to perform,
Mm-hmm.
and then when he performs the ritual, then the boy warlock basically like loses his consciousness for a moment, and they are just like swarmed by like rats and soul taken devers, like there's like insects and scorpions and things like that who are like traveling through.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then when the mage like punches him in the face to wake him up and like breaks a tooth or something, and then they finally make it out. But from that moment, they start talking about like the Warrens as being like not a safe place or not available to them.
Because
It's
that
just sort of
first,
assumed.
yeah, the first like Chain of Dogs big battle, they like have an
Mhm.
advantage because their pursuers don't have access to their Warrens
It's the Warrens, yeah.
for one reason
And
or
we
another.
just assumed, we just assumed it was the Salting and Devers because that's the last thing we had seen. I mean, that was like that we saw that with the horn. It was how dangerous it was, and we're just like, well, it must be because of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, maybe not. Maybe it's because of this.
It's interesting though, because it's like it does almost seem like this one has to do with just being like it's almost like bleeding out from the
Hmm.
Panyan Domain, because like even like the Trigale Trade Guild in this book, which
Hmm.
I think the Trigale Trade Guild that happens in this part is happening before the Trigale Trade Guild goes
Yes.
to, and so they I mean they literally
Mm.
come through a warren with like rivers of blood
Yeah.
gushing out, but then they're fine when they go to the Seven Cities. So it almost just seems it's like a just a location thing, and even on the outskirts, because like I mean like Quick Ben is in Warrens at some point after we know the poisoning started, and like
Well, but it might be resolved by that point, right? We still haven't had Quick Ben's conversation with Kalam,
yeah,
presumably, and so
that's true.
there is still there like this could, or rather, we could still be in a period, right, of Memories of Ice that coincides with, the Whirlwind and the Chain of Dogs, but early on,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we know like Duker's journey to catch up, for example, is like months and months and months on its own. And then on top of that, I mean, they're, fighting their way our end for months on end as well.
Yeah.
So, we may just not be at that point yet
Yeah.
where the Warrens have cleared up and
I'd be
maybe, well,
surprised
I
if
mean,
that happens in this book, though. That seems like it's
mm,
gonna be like the actual big
mm,
war that we're fighting in this
yeah,
series. But I'm curious. Yeah, just that was something I kept thinking about. I was like, all right, I'm trying to connect this to like when this happened in
mhm.
Deadhouse Gates, which was a really fun thing to do. But yeah, sorry, that was I did sidetrack us a little bit. But yeah,
No,
I
it's
think
good.
we kind of did wrap up really what happens with Gruntle and Stunny Manakis.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's really it. I mean, we'll kind of because there was a little crossover with like the people from like Itkovian and the people that then rescue the caravan crew, because notably the person leading the Tulani Moss is Pranchol, which is interesting. So maybe we talk about that, and that's really where we started book two, was just like all of this stuff you've learned. Don't throw it out the window, but like here's something new again, and we're gonna teach you about the gray swords now, which I just found so interesting. Like I love their names. I think their names are awesome, and I did find it a little confusing as far as like what the destriant was, and like we were kind of just learning about the Mass Council, and like I as far as names, let me pull it up. So we have Carnatus, so who is the true destriant of Fenner,
Hmm.
and so, but all of these Mass Councils, there's like all these mask council people, and each one like dons the mask of a god. And so the Fenner council member is claiming to be the Destriant. Yeah, Reth Fenner. Yeah, he's kind of claiming to be the Destriant, and Carnatus is keeping that secret from him that like, no, I'm the real one, and Fenner hasn't chosen one in like however many years, a very long time, and basically he could step in and overrule him at any time, but is choosing not to. And I can't remember if it's because Brookhalion is telling him not to. I thought Brookhalion was the one like kind of urging him, like,
he was kind of encouraging,
step in there, dude. And he's just like,
there's this whole like conversation that was really neat where he was encouraging him to basically like make that revelation, and he was like, it's not the time. Like he basically said something to the effect of like, Rathfinner has like journeyed long and hard to reach a place that I have never left, which is just like this like really cool like revelation. But yeah, he is like the true selected Destriant, whereas this other guy believes, Rathfenner, the masked council member, believes that it's an open title that he's vying for. Which also, the other thing I like about this is it brings a lot more weight to the titles, because we did get from like Quick Ben in part 1 that the Malazans, and at least in Quick Ben in particular, like they don't have a lot of confidence in the titles because they don't know, they've never met these men, they've not proved their mettle, and so they don't know if they're real bestowed titles or if it's just like what Rathfenner's doing. It's just they want to claim the titles.
Yeah.
And so this is giving some indication that like, no, he's actually like holding the title granted to him by Fenner. So he's really not someone to be trifled with.
Yeah. And we kind of just get the information that like the Mass Council are like kind of just like dum-dums. They're just constantly making bad decisions for like, I mean, everything they're talking about with the upcoming siege, the Grey Swords are like, no, that's not going to work. We're going to get destroyed if we do that. And they're like, no, that's kind of what we're going to do. And we kind of continually throughout this, and I don't necessarily know what their motivations are, the Mass Council, but they just seem to be making bad decisions here for the upcoming siege, and then also in regards to the Barghast request. I mean, eventually some of them do see the truth and allow what happens to happen, but it just seems like they're maybe all doing what Rathfender's doing. It's just like they want to claim this title so they've got some power. But I don't. Well, there is one. It seems like they've also, some of them, maybe all of them, do have a connection to their god. Because like Wrath Trake is like, he notices that Trake is dead, but then that there's some ascendancy with Trake or something's going on, so that he feels that connection. So maybe it's like, does the Wrath Fenner actually have that connection as soon as he places himself into that title? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, how many of these people are actually in touch with their god? Not like, phone call away, but feeling-wise.
I mean, they are all priests as far as I know, right? They're all like priests of their respective elder god or their respective gods. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a mixed bag, and they very clearly are all more attached to the local political authority that they hold, because like their primary concern just seems to always be placating the prince. Like it's just like whatever they do, it has to be something that doesn't unilateral. Like it doesn't just like isn't more advantageous to the prince or doesn't benefit the prince more. It's just like they would rather like put the entire city in jeopardy and let it be overrun by the Pandian Domain than take any measure that would save the city but leave the prince more advantaged than them. So which is like also kind of is a little bit, reminds me a little bit more of like Callow as well, of just like, I would rather this be destroyed than for me to lose control over it.
Yep.
So they're like bickering children, and even like, I mean, and I don't know what your impression was of Eden's request for the bones of her ancestors, but I mean, my sort of impression of it at the end of all of this was just that it's probably likely that they had been denying this request this entire time, just because they didn't want to dig up their own, council.
Because it's like in their building. Yeah, exactly.
It's in their building. They just didn't want to dig up their government building to like to like release the bones.
I think they knew
Uh,
too, and yeah, I think they knew that they were there, and they
yep,
didn't
they did.
want the Barghast claiming the land because I mean it kind of is rightfully their land, and as soon as they let them dig it up and reveal that for a fact, it kind of is going to be hard to keep them out.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, they just kind of suck, uh,
Yep.
and yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting group of people, but I actually am finding that like this book feels like it's the Barghast book. Memories of Ice.
Yes.
I know it's also the Talani Moss book. Like, I think Talani Moss obviously are going to be really important in this book because a whole
Mhm.
gathering is happening. But like, as far as like us getting to learn about a new race and stuff, because we didn't really, I couldn't even remember. They may have been mentioned in a previous book, but yeah, maybe they weren't even mentioned at
I don't think
all.
so.
But man, I
Oh.
am like loving the Barghast. I think they're
Mhm.
awesome. And like, yeah, this whole thing I just think is cool. Like we obviously knew that the goal of Paran was to go get the Whiteface clan because they probably needed their support for Kapistan. That's really all we knew. We didn't know really what Hitan and Kafel and what they were really doing with the caravan people, which was a really fun reveal that they're the children of the leader, really, of the clans. And yeah, just their whole that whole thing, and there's like their have their elder spirits, but then also their younger spirits, and they the younger spirits like don't believe in the elder spirits or like afraid of the elder spirits, and so that's why they don't want to unite. And so really the goal was we need to unite these clans so that we can bring them there. But how are we going to do that when we're sieged now? Because by the time they dig up the bones and get that revelation of they are here, the mass counselor and the gray swords are like, cool. So how you gonna go tell daddy? Like, what? Like that's great. You got here. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do about it? Because they're not gonna march on here without kind of that knowledge. And that was a fun little like, how the hell are they gonna? How are they gonna do that? So I really like everything going on with the Barghast. And I
Yep.
did write some other things just under like the politics and world building about the Barghast because we get a lot of information, like a lot. So I don't know if you have it pulled up, if you want to chat about it, or if you want me to just list off a couple things.
Well, and I just thought it was fun that you said like this is like a Barcast book, but maybe a Talani Moss book. But by virtue of it being a Barcast or Talani Moss book, it might be both.
Yeah.
Because there was this awesome reveal through those bones about like the history or the ancestry of the Barghast, because the bones that they dig up have the appearance of Barghast, Trell, and Toblakai,
Mm-hmm.
which is really fascinating. And so I had put in my notes that it might be the case that those three ancestries might actually be like descendants of the Amas.
I think we get the
Um,
reveal that they
cool.
are that the
Yep.
Barghast were they were Emas
Cool.
that missed the
Hmm.
ritual. They were too far
Yep.
away. I
And
think
we,
they
and
were
we get
like
that
fighting
reveal
on the
not through the
sea.
bones. We
Correct.
get
Yeah.
it through a Barghast shaman. So I guess we find out that going back to Corbel Roach, that there's these upside down trees,
Mm-hmm.
and they're buried over Barghast barrows, and that they had dug one up and basically did the same thing that happened to Airlock Airlock.
Hairlock.
Well, Hairlock, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to say it like heir, as in like heir to the throne. Hairlock. And that they basically put him into like a marionette doll. Although I think he's like in an acorn or something.
It's
It's a
like
little bit
stick
unclear.
figure with an acorn head.
Acorn,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Which is just like, does it have a mouth?
yeah,
Like, does it
yeah.
have? It's just like an
I
acorn looking around, or what?
I never mentioned this with Guards of the Moon, but it's just like every time we come around these, just for some reason, I always think back to the movie Shrek with like the gingerbread man, and then it's just like not the gumdrop button.
Yeah.
So, but we get this awesome reveal where this shaman who's buried there was like one of the first generation of Barghast, like along the land. And yeah, he does this awesome reveal to basically say that these Barghasts had actually hunted down the Jagut. And so from I think it was from Kavala, or maybe not, but I think it was Kavala who or maybe it's or maybe in Pran. I couldn't remember specifically which bonecaster, but they basically told us sort of part of the reason for the ritual. And it was just because, like, literally the Jagoot were using their magic to create walls of ice, like so thick and so far that the only way the Talani Moss the Moss could continue to pursue them was like to become dust on the wind. And so there were Amos who like hunted the Jagoot before the walls had gone up. And so then when the walls came up, now they're stuck.
Yeah,
They
separated.
can't get back. They can't get back. There's no way to cross the barrier. And so then the Talani Mas make this call for this gathering to then become the Talani Mas, but they can't make it. So now they're just still a Mas and they become something different over time. I mean, this is a long period of time, hundreds of thousands of years. And so now we know them as Barghast and then eventually Trell and eventually Tobakai, and which is just like, I mean, that's connecting us to so much from the previous two books as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just like really fascinating because I never even thought about that open question of like, well, were there Amos that just didn't make it to the ritual? But
Yeah,
now we
same.
know, and the answer is yes.
Yeah, which makes total sense. Like, it's not
Yeah.
like they snap the finger and like a thing goes out over the entire world.
Really?
But like, yeah, same. I just didn't even think about it. The other interesting thing we found about the Barghast is that they were once seafaring, right? Because they're buried in canoes, and their burrows are shaped like canoes, and that they used to fight these like the demons of the water, if you will, or whatnot, which I think are the Teist Idur.
Yeah, I think so too.
Which
'Cause we've seen them before.
I say
on
that was
boats.
another cool callback to like, oh, I know these guys from Deadhouse Gates, like, but they're definitely in this book toted as like bad, like they're the worst of the worst. Like these guys are bad, but like they kind of didn't feel that bad when we met them. I mean, other than like the whole enslaving the crew of the ship, but these people that came, I'm trying to remember. Oh wait, actually, I'm trying to remember on the ship. I think they found dead Teist Dur. It wasn't the people that came that were Teist Dur, right? They were just
No, they were dead. There was
they
dead
were
ones
dead.
as well.
But was it Talani Moss that showed up?
Yeah,
That's what it
Talani Ma
was.
showed up pursuing
Mm-hmm.
the Tista.
Okay. So we've not met any Teist Dur.
Yeah, we've
Live
not. They've
ones.
and we don't know. We don't really know like how morally questionable because it seemed like the Talani Mas were like hunting them. Is what it
Yeah.
seemed like in Deadhouse Gates.
Well, there's one little like what's it called before the chapters? What are those called? Epigraphs or something?
Oh yeah, I never remember, but yeah, the little like intros.
Yeah, there was one that was
Yeah.
like talking specifically about the the three different Teist,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed like, yeah, here we go. So Mother Dark began with three children. The first, the Teist Andi, were her dearest, dwellers of the land before light. Then were birthed in pain the second, Teist Leons, which we haven't heard of them at all yet. The burning glory of light itself. So yeah, the Teist Andi were from the dark. The Teist Leon were the light. And so because the second were born, the first denied their mother in their fury, and so were cast out, doomed children of Mother Dark. She then gave rise in her mercy to the third, spawn of the war between dark and light, the Teist Dur, and there was shadow upon their souls. So they sound bad.
Definitely bad.
They sound bad, and it seems like, because not to connect another thread here, but I feel like going to be a common occurrence with this book or this novel is that it's going to be hard to talk about isolated threads.
Yeah.
But Lady Envy meets with Karul and
that's where I was going
Kalos.
next.
Yeah, which that town's been wiped out, but not by the Panyan Doman, by some seafaring demons, which definitely sounds like it's going to be the Teist Dur. Which is interesting because it's like, are they working with the crippled god? I mean, are they working with the Panyan? Because the Panyan seems like it's... We also learned that when Kovian and them rescue the caravan people, one Ikovian mentions to Pran Chol like, "Oh yeah, we're about to fight off the Panyan domain," and he's like, "Panyan? That's a Jagged word." And you're like, "What?"
We do find out that there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's not clear exactly why. Although I have my suspicions as to why that is.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I'm curious to hear what that is,
Mhm.
but yeah, where do you? I don't even know where to. There's obviously way more to talk about.
Yeah. Well, so I think just to kind of wrap that up, I think we go to Ecovia next because there might be some more banging in the next book with Ecovia and Eden.
Oh yeah, you gotta take one for the team for honor.
Yeah. I love how he's like taking this vow, and then I'm pretty sure it was the mortal sword.
Yeah.
It was just like, she's gonna get you, man. Like
He's like, you're gonna need to do what you need to do to get on their good side, basically, or to find out information or something.
Yeah.
That means you're gonna have to break your vow of celibacy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. You're gonna have to have sex.
There's just this upgrade where he's like, oh, have you given up your vows now? And he's like, no, I have not. I don't know what she's talking about. And he's like, okay. And then he's just like, well, she's pretty determined. Like if she says she's gonna beg you, she is. He's like, no, that's not gonna happen. He's like, no, actually, I'm ordering you.
Yeah. Please don't make me. Yeah. Which is funny. Very on brand for them. But they're also, I mean, notably, the son and daughter of the leader. I wrote his name down somewhere. Humbrel Tower.
Yep.
Because there's like clans and also like a group that contains the clans, but he's like the head of the head, the leader of the clans or something. Yeah,
and so and I think they'd be probably good to go after. I mean, I guess we could start with them. Ecovians, like the Mortal Sword and Shield Anvil, are interesting, but honestly, kind of like the mercenaries, they're just sort of surrounding or kind of in the middle of all of these events. So, I mean, in many ways, like a more interesting kind of part of this whole story is the fact that Paran's journey to go meet the Whiteface clan is now very much intersecting what's happening with these events. We find out that Eden was tasked with two things, her and Nitak, and then I can't remember their other brother.
Kaffel, I think.
Kaffel, maybe?
Yeah,
Kaffel. And so they were tasked with one, figuring out about these demons, who we know are raptors of swords, and which they did, and then like, oh, actually we have a secondary task, which is to continue to assert our claim to this land. But yeah, and we find out why that, and for me, coming from a religious background, this kind of makes sense. There are a lot of cases in like religious history where you have a council of people, but almost like in Rome, like how they needed like a Caesar in Roman times, like if there is a history of there being a single like appointed leader, and then you remove that leader and you replace them with like a council, it just doesn't like, sometimes it just doesn't work. Like people just bicker the entire time rather than actually being unified. They just fractionate even further. And that seems like what's kind of happened now with the Barghast is this dad, right, is like Tower is just like, he is a chieftain and he's a very well respected chieftain, probably one of the more respected, but he just doesn't have a way to really strong arm these other chieftains to a single unified cause. But if he does, I mean, there's a pretty amazing reveal in this. Like, there are tens of thousands of Barghast. Like, the Barghast, if fully unified, would be an astounding force and could match, I mean, certainly could match the prowess of the Panyan domain. If not the fact that they're more skilled, presumably, because they're warrior tribes, and they're very well-skilled warrior tribes, but also because of their numbers. But right now, like, he only has enough political capital, so to speak, or enough influence to really convince 8 out of 27 chiefs.
Yeah.
But he believes that if he could like raise the standard, which is kind of like in their way, that sort of cultural like appointment. And if you're familiar at all with like British history, like one of the things the Brits did to the Scots to kind of Yeah,
I'm
yeah. I
not.
assume you're extremely well versed, right? You
Yeah.
sleep on British history, but the Brits did this to the Scots to basically have the same effect on the Scots because you have a lot of Scottish clans where they basically stole like the Scottish stone. I think is that what it was? She would know better than I would, but they basically yeah they stole the stone that the king was crowned on, and then they brought it back to England, and
Mm.
it wasn't. I don't think it has it been returned to Scotland. Yeah, yeah, it's under the throne, right? Yeah. Yeah, they put it under their own English throne. So all their kings would sit on their throne on the Scottish stone, right? And it's
It's the
just like,
most
well,
petty shit I've ever
I know
heard.
it is the most petty. It's like it's basically the equivalent. It's like the English tea bag is what
Yeah.
it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was stolen at some certain points, which is hilarious. But the point is like the whole purpose of stealing the stone is like, well, you can't crown anybody because you don't have your stone
Yeah.
that's like traditional for crowning people. So whoever you do crown will have no legitimacy whatsoever by your own traditions. And if you can't crown anybody, then your tribe will just continue to bicker amongst each other. And so it's like this guy, right? He's like, this is his last. This is Hail Mary. Like if we can finally get the bones of our ancestors, then like I can take on this traditional role of being like head chief, right?
And give
And
them
like now
reason
corral.
to
Mhm.
march on Capistan.
Yeah, yeah.
Because right now they're like, "Bah, pff." I mean, I think half of them don't even believe that is their rightful land or anything. And they're like,
Yeah.
why are we going to march on this place?
Yep.
Even though I think it's revealed that they kind of know deep down that, like, if the Panion take Capistan, they're coming for us next. But they're still like, I don't see any, we're not going to go march on Capistan while it's siege. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yep. And so anyway, so that's kind of the plan. And they have this interesting problem, like you mentioned. Like they got the bones now, but how do they get them back? But meanwhile, we also have this like conflict that's taking place. And sorry, remind me one more time this guy's name because I was looking through our
Uh,
Humbrel, right? Humbrel Tower.
Humbrel Tower,
With
yeah.
Tower, yeah. And so he's met with Piran. And so I'm pretty sure in the last book we saw this where they split off, where Piran and the Bridge Burners, along with we now know like Quickben, um, are all going to meet with the Whiteface clan in order to, or actually maybe Quickben, does he go back to join Whiskey Jack? But
He
he
starts
parts
with
away.
Whiskey Jack, and at
Yeah.
some point he meets
Right.
up with like
Yep.
either the 7th or the 9th. There's like the bridge burners that Piran leaves
It's the 9th.
behind to wait. Yeah, so the 9th.
Yeah, because he meets with Mallet, and Mallet's the one who okay. So I'm back on track. So yeah, eventually Quickben as well. But yeah, they're all going to go meet the Whiteface clan, and then we have this kind of interesting twist where Trots, who is a member of the Bridge Burners, who is a Barghast,
Mhm.
it turns out that he's actually going to have to, if they have any chance of convincing the Barghast to join them for the defense of Kapistan, he's got to be one of the members of the war chiefs, and the only way he can do that is to prove himself in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And it's like this whole betting thing where it's like, okay, if you win, you get to be a war chief. I don't know who you're a chief of, but you get to be a war chief. Cool. But if you lose, we're gonna murder all of your friends.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's just like, cool, let's do it.
Yep. Yeah, it is a crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very cool. That I was like glued to my seat for
That fight was epic.
the fight
So,
and just everything here. I mean, even like the conversations
Mhm.
between like Piran and the other bridge burners, and yeah, just the whole thing was really interesting. The fact that Trots like fights like a Malazan bridge burner, and yeah, so the fight. Let's just talk about the fight because the fight is awesome. It's very quick, which I super appreciate.
Yeah.
It is quick.
Yep.
It's probably exactly what one of those types of duels would be like. It's not going to be, dramatic where they're circling each other for like 30 minutes and like pages and pages. It's just real. And so, yeah, I mean, he fights in a traditional Malazan style, which he's fighting the unnamed son of Humbrel Tower, who has to
But
earn his
importantly-
name by winning.
Yeah. So importantly, unnamed but favorite, which is
Yes.
interesting
He's never
because the other
lost a
ones
fight.
have names. Because the other sons have names, but they're not the favorite,
Hmm.
which I thought was really fascinating.
And he's like a tiny little dude. He's
Yeah,
tiny, tiny
he's
little
not the big.
guy,
Yeah.
but has never lost a fight.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a 1-2 punch. Like he goes to. There's a couple little pairing where they test each other. They test the water a little bit, but
Hmm.
then ultimately what happens is the unnamed son sacrifices losing his hand. He allows Trots to cut off his hand so he can do basically a kung fu move. He like
Yeah.
pokes him in the neck, which just collapses his neck. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
at
He
that point,
breaks. Yeah, he breaks his like or trach, right?
yeah, and it
And
like
so yeah.
pops basically. Like they hear
Yeah.
it crunch. And normally that's just you win. But
Yep.
immediately following that, Trots basically slices open his gut and
Hmm.
and kills him. I mean, they both go down. It's one of those like
Yeah.
um and one of the I can't remember. I think it's Mulch that comes up and it's just like they're
Yeah.
like we got to save him, and he literally
Yeah.
does the thing where you like stick a straw
Yeah,
into
yeah.
their
He,
neck.
he he gives him a tracheotomy. He's
Yeah,
just like he literally has like a tube fashioned of a bone, and
yeah,
then
it's a
yeah, he
bone.
just
Yeah,
like cuts. He cuts at the base of the neck and just like shoves it through to bypass the broken trachea, so that way the guy can actually breathe. Which creates this whole. I mean, yeah, and that fight was like crazy. Where I mean, they're both like taking wounds. Like it's a hook blade, which is
yeah,
they mentioned that the guy was using a hook blade. This is important to note that a hook blade is like specifically designed to get around shields. And he's, of course, that's what Trotz is using as a shield, and he
hmm,
knows it's a hook blade. So when this guy goes to do the hook blade thing, basically smack it along the rim of a shield, it goes into Trotz's left arm and like cuts deep. But
yeah.
then that allows Trotz to then, basically position the guy's hand to like cut it off. So now he's like disarmed the other guy.
Which
And then,
then
but then
positioned the other guy
yeah.
to do that.
But yeah, but then it's like this whole like Sherlock Holmes like, I knew you do this, so now I'm gonna
Yeah,
like break your trachea. I was like, I knew you do that, so now I'm gonna like slice open your entrails.
and they're both down on
And
the ground, and they're like,
yeah,
"Oh shit, what happens if it's a tie?
yeah,
What
yeah,
happens if
yeah,
it's a tie?" And I was like, "Oh shit,
yeah,
what does happen if it's a tie?"
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I didn't even think
And
about that possibility.
yeah. And yeah, and I was thinking about that as well. I was like, I wonder how many times in history like that's happened, and people are like, "Wait, what do we do?" And then that scene of like, I love that like it's like a mulch. It's a person who's like part of their job is to like heal. They're like a combat medic basically, who's just like, no, I got to jump in because the fight's over, but like he might still be alive, right? Like he might still be savable, so I got to jump in. But then people freak out. They're like, he's messing with the fight, right? And so
Yeah,
like spears are getting raised, swords are getting raised. The Malazan like bridge burners are like they're like doing they have like their like coats on. They're like throwing the coat open, like pulling out cussers, and
yeah,
they're just like, we're gonna blow all of you up, like
yeah,
dead man switches are like coming out. That's a little bit of exaggeration. But then the kind of like all like Prawn kind of like settles it all down, and then what do we know? Like Trotz is not like breathing through a tube, and we get this like kind of crazy interaction where Prawn just goes up to Tower and he's like, "Yeah, so it's essentially a draw. So what happens to draw?" He's like, "Well, we kill all of you because
yeah,
because," and he's like, "Because you didn't win." He's
yep,
like, "Well, that wasn't a part of the deal." He's like, "Well, it's not really up to me at this point."
yep.
He's like, "Well, what if Trey?" He's like, "What if Trotz lives?" He's like, "Well, that would be good for you. We might still
We
kill
might
all of
still
you
go.
anyway."
Yeah.
And
So,
so it's just like crazy turn of events. And now we're just like sort of left on the edge of our seat to see what happens with Trotz. But of course, that also happens in this book. What were we gonna say? Is what we're gonna say next?
no, yeah, that it
Yeah.
just like immediately created another problem
Hmm.
with like less of a means to solve it because at this point we know that the Warrens are messed up and they're like, "Hey, I'm going to send for I think Piran is basically like I'm going to send for a healer, like an actual healer that uses the Warren to
Hmm.
heal." And we're kind of like, "What but what's that going to mean because that's probably not going to work." And so I don't know if this is a good time to talk about like the other, the seventh or the ninth, the ones that
They
are
should
left
have been that.
behind with
Oh, the
Picker
seventh.
and
I think they're the seventh. Yeah.
yeah,
Right. I might be mixed up as well, but I
which
think that's
like I love them, like
right.
Spindle with his like mother's hair shirt,
Yeah.
and then like Datorin who like what is Datorin? and
I don't know.
it's got
Actually.
like a buffalo, like a not a buffalo, but that's how I picture them. The veteran like following her, and then she's like actually like breaking Hedge's jaw for like joking because she likes him, and it's just like this like camaraderie that is just hilarious. And then yeah, Quick Ben, does he just like show up? Like
Well,
when he's
because he's traveling with Whiskey Jack,
uh-huh.
and so now I can never, and this is the part I can't remember because I know Whiskey Jack is with the Tistandi, but is the seventh also with the Tistandi? Is
No,
that how that's working? Yeah, yeah. The
no, so
sevens are
like,
not right.
yeah, so the
Yep,
all the bridge burners left
yep,
together, and then at some point,
yep,
Piran is like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave you here
yep,
to pick up Quick Ben, and we're
yep,
gonna go ahead."
yep. And then so Quick Ben parts from Whiskey Jack, who know that from the first book,
Hmm.
and so yeah, and then with like Quick Ben like catches up with them, and then it's like okay, well now time to like catch up with the rest of the forces basically.
Hmm.
And yeah, but yeah, he's the one, and they have this kind of whole like interaction where they're like, well, what if he doesn't show up? They're like, no, he's gonna show up. He's like, well, what if he doesn't? It's like, shut up, right? Don't talk about that. It's like, but
Yeah,
we are. It's like it's a reasonable question. It's like, no, it's not, because if he doesn't show up, we are screwed. Like it's just like we might as well just go home at that point because nothing good is gonna happen here.
yeah. Maybe
I
honestly, it feels like Quick Ben is almost the through line here because
Yep.
there's a ton that happens with him. So maybe
Yeah.
we well, obviously we know what happens is that he ends up saving the day
Yep.
with the information that he has. But okay, one thing, and we'll get to this, but I do just want to float it so you can think about it. Maybe you just have an answer. Okay, Bosch Lane and Corbel Brooch dig up the stick snare, the first ascendant or whatever they're called, the first family Barghast, and trap him, whose name is Telemandus. Trap Telemandus in this stick snare, and he's with them. He's with them right up until those Kel hunters show up, and then that was leading up to the end of book 1. Book 2,
Yep.
we get the aftermath of that battle. But the next time we see Telemandus is trapped in a warren, right? So how and why? What happened? And that almost leads me to believe even more so of like, if the Kel hunters gets a hold of you, do you get trapped in this warren or something? Because like, why does Telemandus end up? I think the first time we see Telemandus here, trying to scroll through my my novel of notes here, but I want to say the first time we see Telemandus, Quick Ben meets with Telemandus and learns of the finding of the Barghast spirits in Capistan. Yeah, so this is when he's in the warren. So he gets like pulled down into the warren. I thought he met with her before, because at some point Quick Ben goes to into Hood's warren and kind of basically gets the information that the cripple god is poisoning the warrens. Do you remember? Oh yeah, so Quick Ben meets Telemandus in Hood's warren. So why is Telemandus in Hood's warren? And that's when Telemandus tells him the truth of the Barghast and wishes to be freed. So he's like trapped there as well, because Quick Ben frees him. But then he frees him again, I think. Oh no, maybe that's the first time. But there's at some point, I think that's this point, where he like puts down the little worms, and the worms like eat away the curses that are trapping Telemandus. But that's in Hood's warren.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But why is he there?
Yeah,
Why is Telemandus there?
we don't really know.
Did it die to the cow? Yeah, I'm very curious about that, because it's important that he's there.
Because he meets him. I don't know if we can say like he died, because he like meets him as like that bundle of sticks with like an acorn head, right? It's Quick Ben that like meets him, and of course it's Quick Ben who would recognize the ritual, because Quick Ben is the one who performed it on Hairlock, and so he recognizes it here as well. We don't know why he's in Hood's warren. Maybe he like voluntarily escapes to Hood's warren in some way or fashion, because Yeah, because like in some sense he should be dead, right? But like the spirits of the
Should he though?
land. Well, Telemandus was, like it seems like he doesn't have a body, right? He's like his soul is like trapped
Yeah,
with
but
these things.
presumably, like Hairlock would have lived
Well, no,
indefinitely until this,
I meant like before that happened, like he was dead, but like kind of in a way, his spirit couldn't go through his gate because that's
because
like
they
the like
trapped him
spirits
in
like
the
stayed.
Barrows. Yeah,
Well, yeah, and so this might be a way for him to like essentially hide, and
but he's like
keep
trapped.
them.
He's like trapped there because Quick Ben
Mhm,
has to free him. There's like seals all
mhm.
around him, and he releases like
Yep,
these worms that eat
yep,
away the writing, which then frees him.
right. Which made me think that either Corbel Broach did that, because it doesn't to me. Okay, well, because this gives us it doesn't make sense to me that like the Kachane Shamal would have done that, unless maybe's vision of Hood is actually trying to reveal to us that Hood is in fact in league with the corrupted god.
Mm. I don't
Because
think
I
he
mean,
is because with a very key player here, Gethel. I don't know if you remember Gethel.
mm-hmm,
Gethel's the Jagged that appears to Itkovian, I think, or Boshelin, or not Boshelin, but one of the other Gray Swords, and was like, "Hey, Hood wants you to work for him," and they're like, "No."
appeared the mortal sword.
Yeah, it's a mortal sword. He
Yeah,
says no.
mm,
He
yeah.
attacks
He
him.
didn't just say that. Yeah, he like he beat the
Yeah.
crap out of him.
And then he's about to go back at him, but then the three
Mm,
Bonecaster Talani Moss show up, and
mm,
then Hood like pulls him back through, and then Gethel basically Hood like fires him. He's like, "You're fired. You're
yep,
not the Herald of
yep.
High House whatever anymore. You're done." And then the crippled god then takes him into, and he's like, "Hey, I mean, there's this new house, the House of Chains. If you want to be
Yep.
the
But
warden,
that
not the
doesn't
warden, but the
necessarily mean he's the same thing. He's a herald
herald. Yeah, the
for the
herald.
house
That
for the house of change. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not allied together,
that's true.
right? I mean, Hood fires them because I mean the revelation there is that a herald of Hood cannot be attached to his own personal aspirations,
Mm.
and Gethel is effectively only a herald for Hood because he's hiding out from the Talanamas.
Well, at
That's
some
it.
point, Gethel also is like, when he sees Hood, he's like, he recognizes Hood. He's like, "Oh,
Hmm.
I know what you really are," which is just
Yep.
interesting in itself. Like, what does that mean? Is is Hood like a Talani Moss, and like that's why it's like a, oh, I know, maybe they don't get
Or he's a, or
along,
he's a or he's a jacket.
or he's a Jagged, yeah, or none of the above.
Hmm.
But like, I did find that interesting to be like, I
Hmm.
know what you really are. Um,
Hmm.
but anyway, so all that to say, Quick Ben frees Talamandus, which maybe we will get at some point, or maybe we just missed how Talamandus ended up there, kind of chained up in Hood's warren. But he rescues him, and then Quick Ben meets up with the bridge burners, and
Yep.
they're kind of traveling. And as they're traveling, he basically gets like, the poor Quick Ben is just like getting pulled into warrens. He's all over the place. But at this
Yep.
point, he in Hood's warren, he also learns about the crippled god poisoning the
Yep.
warrens, and of the upcoming war, of like what the real problem is going to be. And so as they're walking, he gets pulled back under into some other warren. I don't remember which one,
Yep.
but Talamandus is there and informs him that they found the first families under Capistan.
Hmm.
And Quick Ben's like, "Great, I know what to do. We need to get this information to Tower," and basically is like, and so Talamandus is like, "But we got a problem because like we can't prove that to Tower." And Quick Ben's like, "Well, could we imbue like their spirits into one of my into a person basically?" And Talamandus is like, "Well, yes, we can." And so yeah, then Mallet shows up. Twist brings him in on the
Yeah. So it's important to recognize that they essentially I think they leave Quick Ben behind, right?
hoodoo.
Or is it or is Mal? Don't they like Picker in them? Don't they leave Quick Ben behind and then he shows up
They're
later?
thinking about it, but they decide to
Yeah.
stay on the Barrow
Okay.
because
'Cause I
he
can't
like is starting
remember
to get
if
sucked down. They're all saving him, and he's just
yep,
like,
yep.
"No, leave." And then some of the other bridge burners are like, yeah, we should get the hell out of here. Did you see what happened to Quick Ben? And Picker's like, no, we're staying for a little bit. And then after a certain, we'll wait a little bit. If he doesn't show up back up, then we're going to leave.
Yeah. Because I couldn't remember if Mallet was with them or not.
He was, because Perron at some point sends Twist back to go pick somebody up, but we don't know who. And it ends up being Mallet, who then shows up as the healer to heal Trots. And
because he knows that there's gonna be a duel, so he knows there's gonna be Mallet.
Exactly. And Mallet shows up and he's like, I'm here, but the Warrens are kind of fucked. And if I do this, there's a very good chance I die. And this was like a huge moment for me, at least, reading it, and for Perron's character. And he decides in that moment that is a sacrifice that he is willing to let Mallet make. And so he does. He sends him forward, and Mallet basically gets like torn apart, tapping into I think it's the Denewal Warren is the healing one. So it gets like torn apart, dying brutally. But then at that moment is when the first family spirits, the elder spirits of the Barghast, kind of go into him and heal him, and then allow him to heal Trots, which is awesome. I mean,
it was super cool. And now it was kind of unclear to me, but it almost seemed like the reason why they could find him was because he was healing. Like it kind of made it easier for them to find him, was because he was using his Warren. But like just kind of this idea of like him just sort of being like pulled apart, like not even just his body, but like his like very sanity, just like in very much the same way that like the crippled god was like torn to pieces. He's like being torn to pieces.
Yep.
And then they just basically like pull him back and like stitch him together. And it's like it's so fascinating the way it's pictured, because it's almost like he's being like torn like by claws, and they're like clawing him too. They're like dragging him away from the very thing that's like clawing him. And then they start putting him back together, like the healing powers kind of puts him back together, and then he comes out with these like superficial wounds and scarring.
He says it feels like each limb of his belongs to someone else or something along those lines, which was pretty cool.
I thought that was really neat.
Yeah. And so that's pretty much like how they then prove they use Mallet, because he's still like imbued or possessed by them or whatever, to like do a very long meeting with Tower and eventually convince him that they will march. I think like pretty much convince him that they will march on that. And then at that point, the spirits like reconnect with the younger spirits and leave Mallet. So Mallet is now back to being his normal self, but the spirits are reconnected with their rightful people, and everyone's like on board, I think, at this point. And also notably, Trots becomes that chieftain of the bridge burners, which is like, is he taking Perron's spot? Kinda, I think.
Well, so in the eyes of the Barghast,
yes,
right, that's the thing.
For sure.
In the eyes of the Barghast, they don't look to Perron anymore. I mean, like Umbral Tower, definitely like there's a relationship that's being formed between the two of them, because both of them are pursuing the same goal. But as far as the other Barghast are concerned, Trots is the chieftain. Yep. Perron is captain, and he still technically is Trots' officer as far as the Malazan Empire is concerned, but not in terms of the Barghast.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I think generally we covered most of, I mean, I think we probably missed a lot, but what's happened on the north side or the northern side of Capistan or the Panyan Domain. But maybe we talked now about, did we miss anything else with like Quick Ben? I mean, there is some stuff that still happens with like Whiskey Jack and Kaladin Brood.
I did want to mention the flashback, because I think it's worth noting that.
Super important.
So Quick Ben, it's kind of been a through line for a lot of different events through Gardens of the Moon and through Deadhouse Gates, sort of, right? I mean, he's the ace in the hole, so to speak, for Deadhouse Gates. That's how he's presented, even though he's not a character that's really present in that book. And then certainly here, like, he continues to be a through line. And we're given a little bit of backstory on him that kind of is meant to reveal why this keeps happening and why Quick Ben is as powerful as he is. It also helps explain other things too, like one of the things that we didn't mention was the reason why Mallet was chosen. It wasn't that Mallet was healing Trots. Like, there's this real significance behind the fact that Mallet does need to be the one to heal Trots, but that wasn't the reason why they chose him. And now it might be in Quick Ben's thinking, right? He's thinking about this, but there was also this element of that Mallet is a skilled healer, but otherwise not necessarily powerful mage. And the spirits would be reluctant to go to empower someone like Quick Ben because he's already extraordinarily powerful. Because Quick Ben was was the youngest, I think, of a cadre of mages who were all being hunted in the desert of Rauraku, and they were dying to famine and thirst, and or at least that's what it appeared. But because of their suffering from famine and thirst, one by one performed a ritual where they actually put their soul, they imbued their soul into Quick Ben. So Quick Ben, he can wield many warrens, and he has many knowledge, and he can fool many spirits, even gods like Shadow Throne, because he actually isn't just one person, but he actually carries with him his whole cadre.
Yeah.
Everywhere he goes for all time. And it was essentially a gambit, in a way a gambit, but a last-ditch effort, really, that they just put all of because of this long journey through Rawaku, had to put all of their hopes on one person. Like, just hope that he would survive, right? And they gave him everything they had to help him be the one to survive because he was the youngest of all of them.
Yep.
But they didn't want to pass through Hood's Gate. They wanted to find a way to continue persist, like in their mission through Quick Ben.
It's a really interesting story too, because it's like I think the other point was just like they eventually wanted to lead Whiskey Jack and the Bridge Burner, or not the Time Bridge Burners, but Whiskey Jack and his crew of Malazans so far out into the desert they just died. Like they kept coming up on, and so Callum, I think, is the one leading them, who we find out has an agreement with Quick Ben, but like they won't die. They just keep pursuing and persevering, and eventually they catch him. But like there's just like this mutual respect after all of that, and that is when he says something along the lines of they've like burned a bridge or something. They become the bridge burners.
Well,
at that
yeah,
point.
they become it because the way he puts it is they've all burned the bridges of their past. Essentially, that all of those individuals no longer have any ties to their past. They are completely and wholeheartedly devoted to Whiskey Jack and to their company.
Yep.
Like this is now their everything for all of them, and it's just kind of in the way that kind of Kalam puts it, the way Quick Ben puts it, it's just like this is now a crew of men that can do anything.
Yeah.
And then right after that, we see that like Whiskey Jack has this other mission, and they perform this extraordinary task where they like take an entire town in one night, even though they're outnumbered like 10-1 or something like that. Yep. Just like 400 men in the covered night, just take out an entire town. And it's just like it goes to show just like the sheer like ferocity that like these men now have, the tenacity that these now have because of what they've been through together.
Yeah, it's an awesome scene, and it's even more awesome because he's telling this to Animander Rake. And like when we come back out of the flashback, Animander Rake is like, I totally see why you are so well respected, and I too respect you. And like Whiskey Jack leaves the tent thinking like he's gained a friend, and I'm like, fuck yeah. Like I love that. Like I love that Animander Rake and Whiskey Jack are just like friends now. I think I thought it was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
So it kind of goes to show like why is it that Quick Ben is always like the through line? It's because he is like the most trusted advisor for the whole bridge burners, and like I know this is like slightly adding more to it and maybe exhausting a little bit too much, but this is like for me, there's always this thing of like, is something engineered or is it providential? And for authors, it's always a difficult line to walk. Like, have you just engineered everything to work out the way you want it to, and now you're trying to explain it away? Or have you really set it up in a way to feel providential? And in Gardens of the Moon, and we do see this again in this book as well, but in Gardens of the Moon, we actually saw that there were many soldiers in the Malazan army that felt like kinship with Tattersail. And the reason why it was explained was because Tattersail is their cadre mage. And the cadre mage protects the soldiers from something they can't protect themselves from. So you keep your cadre mage alive, right? Like they dedicate themselves. And that comes back again in this book. We have two soldiers from the Malazan Empire, these these interesting sisters who find out that Silver Fox has Tattersail, and they're like, no, we'll protect her with our lives.
Yep, they stay in the back of the caravan in the
Yeah.
dust because they are going to protect her. Yep.
And Whiskey Jack's like, why, why would you do this? He's like, because Tattersail's a cadre mage, and like you protect your cadre mage. And so then when you think about the bridge burners, it's like, who is their cadre? Like, who are the cadre mages? It's like Quick Ben is literally all of their, like, normally there'd be a whole company of mages, right? Several. He is literally all of them in one, right? Like he is their guy. And so like it makes sense that like he is the one that they trust and rely on for everything. But he's also enormously powerful and wise. So it also kind of makes sense that like power draws power in a way. That's like when the warrens are open and the spirits are trying to like contact the Molossans, like who is going to be the firelight, like, like lighting up the night? Who's the one they go after? It's like, it's going to be the most powerful one because power draws power. And so it's always Quick Ben.
Yep.
And
we kind of get the reason. I think Animander Rake also after that is like, now I understand why Quick Ben didn't want me to touch him because I would have revealed that, or maybe something. I don't know what could have happened, but he accepts that, and he also then tells Whiskey Jack that he is on board for protecting Silver Fox, and that he will. He basically then immediately tells Carlo, the T-stand D that Whiskey Jack starts banging. What is it? Corlett.
Cool. Yep.
He basically tells her like, all right, here's the plan. We're protecting Silver Fox from the guy. What's his name? There's so many names. Caller.
That's Caller.
Caller.
Yeah.
We're protecting Silver Fox from Caller. And if he tries anything, you got free reign to bring all of the T-stand D. And she's like, but if we open that possibility up, like we might literally destroy like the whole continent. He's like, just be careful. But like,
I love it. She was like, yeah, the last time we had 40, we like nearly ripped the whole continent apart. And you want me to bring like 1,150 of us here? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, so like he's on board, which I mean, he really is very similar to Whiskey Jack in a way, and I really, really like all of that. Everything's happening. And then I mean, Whiskey Jack and Corlott, that's another interesting interaction. Yep. Really wholesome.
I really like it too, because I did find it really fascinating because... So at least from what she had said, I think we're to believe that I don't know that any more Tistiandi children can I don't think they can have any more.
Like
that's what it seemed like.
Pure blood.
Yeah, T-Standi. Like I don't think it's possible for them to have any more pure blood Tistiandi. It might not even be possible for there to be half blood. Like they just may not be able to have children anymore.
Because like, the way that babies pop up out of boredom.
Yeah,
but with other races.
But yeah, with other races. But she was saying something with Tistiandi that it's just like they have to like wander back from the dark. And so it almost seems like the way it kind of, and I'd have to go back and maybe reread it, but the way it sounded like to me was it was almost like the elves from Lord of the Rings. If it was the case that like basically the Tistiandi you have here are like basically the ones that are in this land, and if you're going to get any more, they have to choose to essentially like cross over, and they just don't. It's kind of what it felt like. It's just like it almost seemed like there's just no point of like trying to have a family and children because it just like wouldn't happen. And so it seems like a lot of the Tistiandi, and like obviously her included, they don't choose to mate with each other because or they don't choose to get married anymore because they would live for almost ever, but they could never be like a full family, a whole family. And so I thought that was really fascinating where it's like they do choose to go after mortals because, and it's not necessarily implied that's because they have a family, but it's just because they could love in a way that they can't love with each other because that mortal lives a temporary life. So they can love passionately for the period of time and savor the period of time they have together, and then it would be over. And so there's kind of like a slightly hedonistic sense of like, well, this is only temporary, but it's just like they're seeking something that they can't find each other anymore. And I just found that to be a really interesting detail, a fascinating little detail
Yeah.
of their people.
It's just a wholesome moment too, because like, of course, I feel like the way that people talk about Whiskey Jack and Gardens of the Moon, I was like, I don't know if I get it yet. Like, I liked Whiskey Jack, but like, we just didn't get that much of them to where I was like, fuck yeah, Whiskey Jack. But like, the moments in this book so far, I'm like, fuck yeah, Whiskey Jack.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, look, he's talking about just like, my guy deserves the respect that he gets. Like, when they were fighting the T-Stand-D, their bodies were just abandoned, their dead bodies, and so like he ordered the Malazan to like bury them, and he kept like their beads and like little trinkets basically, and he like offers that to Corlott, and it's just like, I just like it. It was like a very romantic gesture, not even just romantic, just like an emotional gesture. That showed like a connection between them, which I really liked, because I think a lot of the sex so far in Malazan has been more just like banging, and this doesn't seem like it's gonna be that. It seems like it's gonna have more of an emotional connection, which I like. I like where we're just getting. I mean, like, it's just life. You know what I mean? Like, we are getting all aspects of that, which I appreciate. But I do like their love story, if we'll call it that. But I like them. I ship them.
Them. Cool. Was it with Whiskey Let or Kojak?
Kojak. Isn't that a cheese?
No, it might be. I don't know.
No, I don't think
there might also be like a
Colby
drink
Jack is Colby Jack.
Colby Jack is
the cheese. That's what they
it
named
might be.
their
It might be an
child.
alcoholic. Yeah.
Colby Jack.
So we're not gonna name it Swiss. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There might be like a drink that's pretty close to that as well. But no, I mean it's overall like it's a really cool element, because I think if you're gonna be a fantasy writer, if you're gonna write a lot about or like an alternate history with medieval times, like this is one of the things that you have to touch on at some point. That is a really hard topic, which is just that like war is absolutely brutal, and chivalry in war only comes from chivalrous men. And this is one of the big reasons why like the Crusades were so brutal, because you had a bunch of European crusaders who were extremely knowledgeable of chivalry, like in Europe, and could always rely on the other man being chivalrous, or at least had that like built into their culture of like, if a French guy is fighting an English guy, at the end of the day, like they're both Christians and there's some understood degree of chivalry. And so if they flee, they know they'll be allowed to flee. If they're taken prisoner, they'll be fed and can be ransomed. And then they go into the Middle East, right? And they encounter these Arabs who they don't speak the same language, they don't have the same religion. And like one of the first impressions that they get is that these guys don't understand chivalry. And so for them, it's like one of the first times when they realize they don't have that backstop anymore. And like, but now they're locked in. And it just gets brutal, because now they're a cornered dog, basically. They know they have to fight with absolute brutality in order to survive. And you kind of see that with like the Bridgeburners. Like they know the Malazans as an empire, like they can be brutal. And it's just like, well, in Whiskey Jack sees, he's like, when we flee, they let us flee. So he's like, they are giving us this chivalry, this backstop. So we have to treat them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They take prisoners. Like we have to show them that respect.
Yeah.
Because otherwise this war like between us is like, it will be brutal. It will be the most brutal thing that like man can achieve in war, because we'll have nothing.
I think they say something along the lines of like, as the war went on between the Malazan and the T-Stand-D or Callan Brut or whatever, like it got more and more civil the longer it went on, which I think that's a really cool connection, because like I didn't really know that, but I like that.
And so I think it just shows again a lot of the depth of characters. Like we're meant to understand that this isn't just this isn't just like a moment of time of like Whiskey. Like this is like who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's always someone trying to seek like the good of men in war, right? And I just think that makes him a really awesome character.
Yeah,
And
I'm loving Whiskey
yeah,
Jack.
yeah.
I am curious. Do we? I can't remember if we know what's going on with the leg or not. Something's going on with his leg. Something ails him. Did it happen? Was he always like that since we saw him in Gardens, or did it something just somewhere along the line since we've met him that's happened?
Yeah.
Somewhere along. Okay.
So something has happened to him because I think that was still true in Gardens.
It's gonna be important. It has to be. They just keep mentioning it. It keeps mentioning it.
But I think I think that was true in Gardens as well. So I think it's gonna come up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another thing I'll have to look into.
Yeah.
So,
other than that, as far as
well.
like the Alliance people, maybe we talk quickly about. We don't really get a ton of the Meeb or the Maybe or the Mybe or the Mybe or whatever. And Silver Fox, we get almost zero silver. Actually, I think we literally get zero Silver Fox, other than her mentioning.
No, she has a conversation with Whiskey Jack. She's the one who's like, I can see now why your men like you. You're the type of person where when you cup your hand, 10,000 souls fill it. And we're basically at the two things, which is she is now a woman. She's like in her 20s now.
Yeah.
She's got a what is it? A sulky walk, as maybe put it.
A sultry.
Right?
Sultry,
the sultry walk, yeah. But yeah, so and she feels almost for the first time she can feel now the weight of the calling.
Mm-hmm.
Like she says, I think my hands are bringing together 100,000. So she like can really now feel like the Talani and Moss are coming. Like before, as like when she was still like Silver Fox, a 12-year-old basically, it was like she knew it, but like now she feels it like in her bones, which is which kind of gives that idea of like they're on the precipice, right? They're like getting closer.
Yeah, which it seems like we know as the reader, right? Yep. The Talani Moss, or at least a lot of them already, are at Capistan.
Yep, they're very close.
Waiting
very
for her.
Close.
Yeah. I forgot about that conversation because she's like, we're a lot alike, Whiskey Jack. Like, yeah, you open your hand and 10,000 come. Well, she's like, well, maybe we're not that much alike because when I open my hand, 100,000 are coming. Yeah. she basically just one-ups them. Yeah, but she's also kind of distanced herself from the what do we want to call the what is the book called? The Mibby?
The Rivi people?
No, the Mabe. The Mabe. The Mibby.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, so the narrator pronounces it like Mybe.
Mybe. Okay. We'll call her that.
The mother, so her mother, who is very much an elderly woman, they lost, sort of like basically presented like a 90-year-old, essentially.
In pain, wants nothing more than to end. And now Silver Fox is like taking from, like distancing and taking, like not really feeling as bad anymore about it. And so really I'd say more of the focus of their relationship is more on the Meebe. I forgot what you said already.
Yeah, Mybe.
Mybe,
yeah.
So she's having dreams. She's having some nightmares in the beginning, and maybe not so much nightmares at the end. But she's like with Hood. She's like begging the Rivi spirits to basically end her life. Yep. And then good old Krupp shows up.
Good old Krupp. So I did put this in my notes as well, but I think it's going to be important for us. We need to track Krupp's harem as we go through this book because he just keeps adding more and more to his harem with every additional chapter.
What is a harem?
A harem, as in like a collection of girls that you take as like concubines, right?
That's not what he's doing.
because we started. No, like let's keep track, right? So we started with. Who was it? It was Honesty was his wife, and then we picked up. Who was the next one we picked up? Was like it was Truth, and now we've picked up Faith as our third mistress.
Was Dreams another one?
Dreams
Faith
was the fourth one.
Yeah.
So he was like, I have a wife, like Honesty, and I've been married for a long time, and then Truth is my mistress, and then so then Faith is my midnight mistress.
Yeah.
And Hope and Dreams is there waiting for us as well.
Yeah. Good old Krupp.
I love that he's like continuing with this. Like it can't just be like, like it can't just be like Faith is an important quality to have. It's like, no, Faith is my midnight mistress. And how sweet she is and how welcoming and inviting.
Yeah. I was like, I don't remember him like being with a bunch of women, but yeah, that's why. That's why. But he kindly brings some relief to the Maibi with bringing her gifts of the Revi ancestors, and basically just. I mean, he basically just gives her like a chin up kid like kind of thing, and like these will alleviate some of the pain.
Yep.
And then she has like
maybe more. Maybe more.
It might be more.
Might be more. Yeah. So there's sort of implied that there's something else to these that Krupp has not revealed yet. And she even might even asked him, and he kind of was like, "Okay, moving on now."
Yeah. And then she starts dreaming again, but this time she's like in the talons of a dragon, basically, or something. But it seems like it's a dragon, and Krupp is there, and he's like,
"Well, so remember that Krupp and Karul have a very close relationship, and Krupp has the ability to go into people's dreams, and Maibi knows this too, because that's how Maibi knows Krupp originally, because she saw Krupp in a shared dream, and that's how he, of course, knew that she gave birth to Silver Fox, because that shared dream. And so, but yeah, so like Krupp, so we also like know like Krupp is like not just trying to give her a chin up in the in the real world, he's also trying to influence her dreams as well.
Yep. And he basically tells Silver Fox, like, you're gonna need to be nicer to the Maibi, which is nice. So hopefully things are looking up. I at this point I just don't see the Maibi making it through this book just to die.
Yeah, it almost feels like she's being set up for something
important. Yeah. I hope so. I hope so. It would be tragic, which apparently, obviously, Steven Erikson is not afraid to do that. But it does seem like things are maybe going to start looking up for maybe. But maybe we're at an hour and 45 minutes, and we've got one more like major. I think you said this was like your favorite part. That being Cruel and Talk and Lady Envy and all that. The southern crew. So let's talk about that, because there's a lot that happens and a lot of cool stuff that happens. Specifically with Talk. I mean, Talk is just like on a whole. I mean, so much happens to Talk. Talk goes through a whole arc of like for a whole book in this one part, because he starts off like, which by the way, so we know that Lady Envy has her two dogs, right? Gareth.
Yep.
And then the other one. So this one I actually did see on the Reddit that this is the one name that Steven Erikson once pronounced correctly. Is the other dog. So like the J is like a J, like a that, and then the double G or something is like a K. So do you want to try and get it right?
So let's see. So if I find it in characters real quick.
Yeah.
Because it's like Baljag. What is it? Or ball?
But like a J and a K.
Like Baljak. Yeah. I don't know that the narrator.
I was just trying to get you to say ball sack.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's how the narrator says it.
It's not. Maybe it's not important to Steven Erikson. I was just trying to get you to say ball sack.
Okay.
Ball shack.
Yeah. Have you ever seen gosh, the
it almost worked. I got you pretty close.
Almost Baljak.
Baljak.
Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting? The Music Man. Have you ever seen the Music Man?
Oh, a long time ago. I don't remember it.
There's an author. There's an author named Balzac. And it's like the whole song where they just keep going back to that author.
That's funny.
I'm just like, how is this in here?
That's all I could think of was like, I need to try and get Ian to say ball sack. Because I think it is just like ball jag.
Yeah.
Ball jag.
I think the narrator pronounces it like ball jag.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But I think Erikson, like you said, I guess Steven Erikson really wants to be pronounced ball sack, which if that's the case, if he wants to pronounce ball jack, that's fine. We can go along with it, That's what you're telling me.
All right, I had to try and do that before we get into this part. I've been waiting for days. I was like, I'm gonna do it. This is great. What a plan.
You overestimated my ability to do phonemes. I cannot I can't follow along if you're trying to get me to pronounce
Yeah.
something.
I thought you were gonna catch on right away. That's why I was like, I don't want to say ball, otherwise he'll be right
Yeah,
there. But
yeah,
yeah, let's talk about ball sack.
yeah,
Um, but really, so
yeah.
I can't remember. So where do we start with them? I think we start with them and Envy's off, right? The first time we meet with them. So I think we start with talk, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah, so Envy's off because she's gonna go meet with Karul, and actually we do get that. I think even in in the first chapter, chapter
Oh
7
yeah,
of this book.
yeah. This chapter is huge. So
Yeah.
much happens in this chapter. Yeah.
So talk and very pointedly, it's very important to talk. If Envy's gone, he's got to be cooking.
Yeah.
So, yep. He's like, I'm cooking.
I like that
So,
though. Yeah, it's another
you
thing.
know,
I'm like, yeah, respect talk. Like he's their
yeah,
equal. He's not their better
yeah,
to the
yep,
Segula because she's like
yep,
basically enslaved them.
yep. She claims she hasn't, but we
Yeah,
know
well, we
has.
find out.
Yep.
Yeah, she definitely has.
Yeah,
They got the old
yeah,
lipstick kiss on their masks. And we're like, we
yeah.
know what that means now.
But kind of the important thing is like, yeah, they're traveling. They're traveling as a group. So we've got Talk, we've got Tool, we've got the Segula,
Hmm.
and we've got Ballsack, and so they're all together. But kind of importantly,
Grow up, Ian. Grow up.
we all I know. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I'm got the heart of a 12-year-old. So but the kind of important thing is that all of a sudden Talk he starts having these visions, right? He has more visions because he's actually got I guess we don't know fully all of what he's got kind of going on inside of him, but we know that he can see Trake, and we're pretty sure that like Trake has kind of ensouled into him. Now, and notably, Trake was a soul taken who changed and never changed back, who went mad. And I was actually killed by the Kell hunters. We kind of see a vision of Trake actually being killed by these Kell hunters, and then we get this crazy
Oh
reveal
wait, sorry, real
where
quick. He doesn't
Mhm.
actually die though. I don't think. I think he's about to die.
he, he's about to die. Well, and in fact, this is what's crazy, right? Is we almost get this like span over time thing
Yeah.
where he's like about to die, but he's saved by another soul taken, a panther, who we've seen before, and then becomes exactly who we've seen before, Kavala,
Hmm.
who is this Amos from our prologue who saves him. But the way in which he saves him, almost in some ways, like guarantees that he will, like one day become like ensouled and talk, which is like kind of
She
crazy.
even
Like
like
the way,
senses
yeah,
because he's getting like a vision of the past, but even in the
yeah,
vision of the past, he sees Kalava say, "I recognize that." Basically,
yeah,
talking there. I see him in
yeah.
there.
You can see him like across time.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world is going on here?
This
Like,
was a
how did
really
those
trippy,
two? Yeah,
trippy part.
yeah. But it's also again like we've seen this before with Pran Chol, who could see across time to his future as a Talana Moss, still encountering the Jagged. So it's just like again, we know that they have this power, but like how crazy it is that she's like seeing this event right in the future. And so that was really, really cool. Now, of course, they actually do run into Kavala as well.
Yeah, then she just shows up
Um,
in real life too.
yeah,
It's just like,
in
oh,
real
okay.
life, like, hey, I've seen you before, and
Yeah.
like immediately too, like all, like even like Ball Jag and like all of them, they even like kindly respond to her. Basically, the only one who is, obviously a little bit troubled by her appearing there is the other Talana's
Tool.
tool,
Yeah.
because of course that's her brother, and they are both essentially clanless because of her, right? But there's kind of a nice like heartfelt moment where he's like, well, just because this happened, like I do one day like want us to be able to find peace. It's just like you've hurt me and like really badly.
Talk
But
even
I
like
thought that
makes
was really
a
cool.
point to say like it's the first time he's really ever seen any emotion
Yeah,
from Tool, and Tool who likes to pretend he doesn't, and even tried in that moment to pretend that he didn't, but Talk
yeah.
saw it like, and I really I liked that moment a lot.
And so that was a really, really, I thought really, really neat moment. And then they continue to go on this journey. So of course there are like some other things there, but just for the sake of time, they do finally get back with Lady Envy. Now I would say that Talk is like my second favorite, but like this whole storyline is my favorite. My favorite is like the whole interaction with Karul and Lady Envy, because that was just like, and the fact that it happens like in the first chapter. And I will say that this is, I was gonna bring this up during my likes, but I might as well bring it up here. But just that scene, I think we should just hang out on that scene for a little bit. Like, I love the way that Steven Erickson does big lore dumps, because rather than being like, "Hey, Lady Envy, by the way, did you know that I, Karul, this elder god, am actually the Warrens themselves? Like, the magic that flows is my blood.
Mm.
The Warrens themselves are my flesh, right? Like, I am like the guy. Like, literally, all of this is from me." Rather than like just kind of doing this whole lore dump, she's like, he's basically asking her for a favor, and she's like, "Why would I do that?" He's like, "Well, I'm not actually asking. I'm telling you." She's like, "I'm not going to listen to you." He's like, "In this you will, because you are a sorceress who uses my blood and walks my flesh, and you owe this to me."
Mm.
And just like that sudden realization of like, and like it just like shakes her to her core, right? Where she feels now compelled, like she feels that calling, that obligation, that like indebtedness of like how she's like used him unknowingly. And it's just like it's such a crazy scene where he's just like uncharacteristically like shouting her down, demanding of her, and all at the same time revealing to us as this reader. And it's just like that was such a cool moment.
It
It was
was,
such a
yeah,
cool way to do that reveal.
yeah, it was crazy. And
Mhm.
you saying that kind of I was like, it just made me think of like, well, what was the
Yeah.
curse that Cruel got? Because Cruel is way more important than I would first
Cool, got the
thought.
curse to be forgotten,
Yeah,
which is
fade from the
which is like
world and be
yeah,
forgotten.
which is like what
That's not
makes it
good.
so crazy. Is like so. First of all, I was thinking about this after I realized that he's the Warrens, but like he has been subtly coming up a ton, and we just don't really know about it. Like he even comes up in a conversation with Kavala where she tries to remember something from the past, and she couldn't. She's like trying to remember something about, I can't remember if it was like the Warrens or something else, but she was like, "Oh no, she knows that Karul's nearby." She's like, "I sense that there's like an elder god nearby, but I can't remember his name." And she's like, "Oh yeah, this used to be home to an elder god, but who was that?" And
Mm,
then like people, like also people don't know where the Warrens come from because that's the curse.
yeah,
They can't know. They've forgotten all of this because that's a curse. It's just like so crazy, right? Like
it's
how those
awesome.
two things work together. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
But then
very,
this is
very
why the
cool.
Warrens are turning, because Karul is dying because of the Penyon Domain, and so that's
Specifically,
why
the
his
cripple god, though, I think
the
really
cripple
right.
god.
He
Yeah.
wants to attack sorcery
Yep.
specifically, and that is the Warrens. Yeah,
Hmm.
or that's where he wants to start at least.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
taking control or killing off all
Hmm.
sorcery, so that basically what chained him can't chain him again.
Yep.
Or I
And,
mean, I think technically he is still chained, but whatever, it
yep.
can't stop him.
Hmm. And I think it's worth mentioning. I won't spend too long. I won't spend that long on this, but I think it is worth mentioning that I believe Calor is supposed to be in a moss because like I don't know what else he would be. Um, but it's worth mentioning that like Animander Rake saw him as being so powerful that it might take 1100 to Standy to wipe him off the face of the planet. He also had the ability to curse an elder god, and then he there are very few people that actually know that Karul is of the Warrens, and we do know that Kalor is one of the people who knows. So he's like immune to the effect of that curse, as is the Chain God, which is very fascinating. And
Mm,
of course, those two pair up, and so Kalor agrees
yeah,
to be the High King of the House of Chains. I think that's one of those things where it's like hard to really talk about that more because it feels like there just needs to be more that happens. But I think it's like worth noting that like there's something very interesting about this guy that I think we're going to learn a lot about in part three. Um,
yeah,
so,
I agree.
but yeah, but then
Hopefully in
after
part
that,
three, if it's Steven
yeah,
Harrison,
hopefully
yeah, he's just gonna be
it
like
might be part
part
four.
three. Here's stuff you've never heard about before.
Yeah, but it's worth noting that while Lady Envy has left talk in the group, Karul basically says, "You have to go back. Thank you for assembling this motley crew, but you're not done. You're actually going to be the one leading them."
Yeah,
And so then they get to basically be like our Malazan or Book of, Memories of Ice, like version of the Inglorious Bastards, essentially. Like Motley Crue is not going to go behind enemy lines. And so then they journey together. There's some fights between Tool and the other Segula because that's how they are. And ultimately they actually make their way to the Panyu Domain, which is kind of crazy. On the edge of that territory, we have one of the coolest battles. They come across the Kell Hunters, and then Envy's like, "Yeah, just let the Segula deal with it." And then just like instantaneously, they decapitate the Kell Hunters.
Yeah, like the two weaker brothers, like
Yeah,
basically hold the sides
yeah,
down, and
yeah,
then the big boy just
yeah.
comes up and is just like, "Fink."
Yeah. With like such bravado, with like such ease, that Tool sees it. And he's like,
I must
he
fight
might
him.
actually. He's like, he might actually be better than I am. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like for the first time, because the other guys is just like Tool just respects their tradition. He's like,
Yeah.
well, they challenge me, I gotta fight him. This guy's like, I gotta be the one to challenge him because like he might actually be better than I am, and the only way to know is to challenge him. So it's like it's kind of funny to see Tool now taking on like the mantra of the Segula because that's the exact
Oh
reason
yeah.
why they challenge him.
Yeah.
You know?
And like in this moment, like that's what you think.
Yeah.
He's just like,
Yeah.
I must challenge you right now. And like, Emmy's
Yeah.
like, no. He's
Yeah.
like, I must right now. And she's like, no. Well, and then she like puts him to she puts
Yeah.
Mock to sleep just
Yeah.
so Tool can't, which is great.
Yeah. And then they make it to the territory of the painting domain, and we have some of the most like grotesque and gruesome images that like, which of course we knew we are gonna get. Like we knew that there was gonna be grotesque. It was not gonna be, sunshine and rainbows. But yeah, but they successfully insert themselves in the painting domain and like lead the priests of the painting domain along. That they're essentially like people like seeking the reward of the corrupted god, which we know what that reward is. The reward is to basically be like brutally murdered,
Mm-hmm.
and then fed um, to the oh my
Tenniscoury.
goodness, to the Scoury who cannibalized them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, that's essentially what we're here for, which is not. Then they they release the Hulk version of the companion hounds.
Yep.
Like
Which
I love how talk like he sees. I think it was Balljag, right, that he saw, or maybe it was the other one.
I think
But he
it's
was like,
I think they're just both.
yeah.
Gareth is the one that is like way bigger than he normally is. I think.
Yeah, I think it was Gareth. He like sees Gareth. He's like, "Have you been like busting through walls?
Yeah.
Like, how did you get this big? Like,
Yeah.
like just like that. He's like, you were a companion. You were like a small animal companion. Now you're like the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
with this.
I found, man, this
Yeah,
everything about this little town was so
yeah,
interesting because they show up and they're greeted by like I can't remember the title of the person that like the big boy that's in charge, the big boss, the one that they meet
mm,
for the meal inside the temple that's been erected,
yeah.
and which they have this meeting and like Lady Envy's like tossing scraps to the dogs, and the guy's like, that's super disrespectful to our religion. She's like, oh well, it's not to mine. She's just very like nonchalant about things. But I found it really interesting that Talk recognized the like helmet imprints on the guy's like skull. So I don't know if that means that he was once Malazan. I don't really know what it means, but it did make a point to say he recognized like the indents where a helmet would be, and he recognized that, which I
Yeah.
thought was cool.
So I think it's a Seer Doman cult. I think it was
Seer
who it
Doman.
was. Yeah,
But
and then the town there is called Bastion,
the
or it's a hamlet outside of Bastion.
yeah,
Sorry.
so they get to Bastion eventually,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
after the guy leaves, he's like, "Enjoy your dinner. You guys are welcome to stay for the night." And so Talk's like, yeah, I don't feel so good about this. And Lady Envy's like, yeah, they'll probably murder us, and they'll start with the dogs and gut them, and then they'll come to us while we're sleeping and murder us. But, good night. And so, like, Talk goes to sleep and then, awakes to the dogs, like, wreaking havoc. And then finding this guy and some of the other people boiled alive in, like, a pool that Lady Envy just, like, cooked them. And it's, like, disgusting. Like,
Yep.
yeah, he's like very very grossed out. But they basically like burn down the town and move on. Like they're doing the Inglorious Bastard thing. But
I learned that I would be very much the talk in this story where they're just like, yeah, he's like, why didn't you wake me? And they're like, well, you didn't wake up on your own, so we figured you needed to sleep. That's like me. Like, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but when I was in second grade, there was a guy who I can't remember the exact circumstances, but he was running away from the cops. So he straight up like he did the action movie thing. Like he got into the street, he held the person at gunpoint, made them get out of the car, stole their car, went on a high speed chase, and literally lost control of the vehicle and ran through the fence of the house across the street from us.
Oh my
Like the
god.
backyard fence, drove it into the tree, got out of the vehicle, stumbled into their house. Fortunately, they weren't home.
Oh,
The police all show up. So sirens are going off. Helicopters flying over our house, spotlighting this. They managed to get the guy because they trapped him in the house. Again, thankfully, nobody was home. And they managed to like take him away, right? So I wake up the next morning and my mom's like, dude, that was crazy last night. I'm like, cool. I'm
what?
like, what? They're like, what do you mean, what? There's like a helicopter over our house. I'm like, I wouldn't wake up.
Yeah.
They're like, how did you sleep through that?
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. That's funny.
But like, I never woke up. Like this whole thing happened.
You
I was
pulled a
like,
tongue.
"Oh, okay, well, yeah. I was like, well, you know what? If somebody needed me,
Yeah.
they would have woke me up. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically they move on. They moved on to Bastion, and Bastion's really interesting because they meet a couple priests. They're talking about like the town undergoing like the enduring, and so they're talking about it, and then all of a sudden the tennis scowie show up, and the priests are like, "Nope, never mind, see ya." They're like running for their lives and
Yeah.
stuff. But then yeah, probably for me this was one of the most like pivotal and notable things that happens in this book is Talk saying, I love that because I think Lady Envy says something about like you need to be like a leaf floating down the river. You can basically go with the flow kind of thing. And at this point, by the way, we didn't really talk about Talk has given a new name, something like a raw fail or something like that, because
The narrator pronounces like Arafael.
Arafael, yeah, because when we find out how Talk lost his eye, which was like a stone piece cast down from Moonspawn during that siege of Pale.
Yep.
And so now we are led to believe that that also like is causing him maybe to maybe ascend or just like imbued him with the power to like that's why he's able to get those visions and like all of that. So he's got this like power now, and which is awesome. And then he does exactly what Lady Envy says. He goes with the flow. He does not think that he's going to be able to survive with Lady Envy and all these badasses because he's just Talk to him. I think maybe he doesn't know his own power yet. And so he joins the tennis scour without telling them. He just goes with them to basically lead them up towards the Malazans, right?
Well, so this is because remember, Talk is a claw, right? So this is like the way he views this is like his comfort zone is like, I'm going to infiltrate the Tenniscouri, who I know are going to go assault Kapistan, where my Malazan brothers are going to be. And I think he gets he gets information from Lady Envy because Karul conveys that to her.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because basically their job, or Lady Envy's job, was to split the Panyon Domain. Because
exactly.
half are going up to the Tenniscouri, really are going up towards Kapistan.
So he's like, I'll infiltrate, and I'll hang in with them for a while, gather more information on the enemy, which in part he also feels compelled to do because they find out something crazy about Anaster, who is like the firstborn of the children of the Dead Seed, who is essentially now like a general, basically leading like 100,000 Tenniscouri and children of the Dead Seed, who's like also viewed as like almost like a messiah in a way. People are just like, if only you would touch me, right? And so like he's like, I'm gonna infiltrate and learn more about this. And he actually like over a 3-week period becomes a lieutenant.
By not saying anything or doing anything.
But not saying anything and just being super observant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I did want to mention as far as like the name goes, I think Arafael like it has a significant meaning that's related to like stone, and Tool actually helps him like make like stone arrows.
Yep.
But it's worth noting that although we don't know why yet, like stone is a pretty significant theme so far. For example, when Kruppa gives the artifacts, it is, I think, at one point mentioned that there's obsidian in
Mm-hmm.
the artifacts. So like the ideas of stone keep coming up like throughout the story. So we don't know quite yet what the significance is, but we do know that for some reason, like Tool at least thinks it's extremely significant that like the stone keeps reoccurring, the stone theme. So I think that's gonna. I'm excited. I'm interested to see what happens with that.
Yeah,
But
me
yeah.
too.
hmm So
Yes.
yeah. So Talk becomes lieutenant. He's on Tenniscoury, and at some point, an Aster is like, hey, like by the way, I took you as a lieutenant because you're extremely insightful, and now the the Pandian seer wants to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
So they like, I think they're in Bastion at that point,
Yeah,
right?
they're in
And he's
Bastion.
like, yep. He's like, you're gonna go up and actually see the Pandian
Oh wait,
seer.
actually, are they in Bastion? They're in I don't know where when I
May
see
not be
it.
Bastion. That's where he joins the Tennis
They're in
Gallery.
Outlook. Outlook.
Outlook.
They
That's
go,
what it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, and so yeah, so we get this crazy thing. You wanna explain it from there?
Yeah, it's crazy. So he goes up this like weird, crazy like. Well, first of all, he's about to go up, and like a cow hunter just shows up, and then just like it's like basically it's just like sup, and then goes the
Yep.
other way, which is already just like I don't know,
Yep.
weird to see a cow hunter like in the. I'm assuming like this big temple, really, like he's not
hmm
on the ground floor or anything, and then he gets shown in and is like go up these stairs, and he's waiting for you, and like this weird like floating spiral staircase in the middle of a room or something very very strange, and he gets up there, and then the Pandian seer's there. He's just this old corpse sitting in a chair, but Talk with I'm assuming because he's got this power now
Yep.
can actually see that kind of behind that corpse is really a Jagged that
Yep.
is sitting there, but also something else too, like tentacles on the bottom of them, which is like, what the hell is that? I don't know. Maybe it's just chaos. I don't know. But yeah, so they basically have dinner, and Talk is like starving because he is refused to eat
Yep.
other flesh, basically.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be a cannibal, which is also, I love it when like stairs are the enemy.
Yeah,
When talks like climbing, he's like, how funny would it be if this guy doesn't get his meeting because I died because I'm so hungry and I have
yeah.
to climb all these stairs.
So
Yeah,
yeah, and the whole time I feel like even Talk is wondering like, this is probably not going to be good, but what choice do I have? But really, the seer is not bad or anything to him. He basically casts magic on him and like cures him of his hunger, and feeds him meat, which Talk can like suss out that it's venison because he's got like the wolf sense, which is bringing us back to that wolf. And then Talk has like a vision. He basically like gets a vision of Ballsack. And it's of like Lady and Envy and them and like traveling through harsh conditions. That's kind of really it, I think. But when he comes back, the seer has noticed that he's done this and basically throws a fucking temper tantrum. And he's like, "You cheated! You're not who you said you were." And then, from my understanding, seems like casts him into like the Rent of Morn. That's what I took, or some place where like this creature is like holding him so tightly and like breaking his bones, but the healing spell that the seer put on him continues to heal him. So it's just like breaking his bones and then he heals, and then breaks his bones and then he heals, and like in theory, there to suffer for eternity, which is similar kind of to what the sailor possibly went through in the Tainted Warren on the ship in Deadhouse, of like this never-ending agony. So yeah, I mean, and then we kind of just get left with that, which was crazy. And like poor Talk has gone through some shit in this book.
I know.
Or just since Gardens, it's like this poor guy can't. He's like finally something's going his way, and now you just have to suffer endlessly.
Yeah.
But crazy. It
But
was awesome.
but I don't think it's gonna be endless.
No, I don't think so
No.
either.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Now, so I think that I mentioned this at the beginning, but I think that these Jagut that we're seeing here are related to the children that we saw in the prologue.
the jacket that we're seeing, like the one behind the Panion Seer.
Yep.
Oh, you
Yep.
think one of the children that got saved became the
I think
seer?
it's one or both.
Like
Yeah.
it
I
got
think.
corrupted?
Yep. I think one or both of them are present here.
Ooh. Well, that's
Yep.
perfect. Let's jump into um. Well, let's talk about likes and dislikes real quick because that'll be short because I think like always there's not gonna be many dislikes. I did put and sorry, and then we'll talk about predictions. That was leading to that. Unless there's anything you want to say, I think we covered. I think we did
Yeah.
pretty good.
The
Mostly.
only other thing I was going to say was just that right now, when this will be something we'll see moving forward, but right now it seems like the only people that are out there in like the world are either related to the Amas or related to the Jagut. Like they're,
It does seem
so
like they're like
yeah,
the two stems,
yep.
and everything is a
So
branch of
yeah.
that.
So I do have a prediction about that, which I don't know will get resolved in this book, but I'll add that to I'm
Okay.
going to mention that in my predictions.
One more important thing that happens is Kaller is approached by Gethel and basically invites him to be the king of the House of Chains, in which he's like, no, I don't want to I don't want to be, ordered around by the crippled god. And Gethel's like, no, it's not like that. Like, you'll get to make your own decisions and stuff. He's just kind of like influencing or whatever. Like, he's there, but he's not really the ruler. You'll be the ruler. And Gethel's like, okay, or Caller's like, okay, I'll do it if the crippled god gives me a moment of vulnerability from Silver Fox. And that's kind of where we end that, which is also a nice little cliffhanger of like Rutrow. Okay, I have a question. I put this under my likes, but it's not really a like. There's a lot of talk of the Gredfallen wine in this book, but wasn't it in Gardens or in Deadhouse? And like they talked about it in a negative way or something, but like even like Liam, she's like, Gredfallen wine, I've never heard of this. I don't know why it's just sounding familiar. Like it's just like Gredfallen wine. Like they get offered it somewhere and they hate it or something. I could just be making it up, but they mention it quite a bit in this part of this book, and I was like, this sounds so familiar. But yeah, again, could be way off. So not really a like. I just wanted to jot that down somewhere to see if it rang any bells for you.
No, I couldn't remember if it rang any bells. But I don't. So I did quickly like look it up from Gardens to see if it was, but in Gardens it was
It's the
listed
crippled
as like,
god. Spoilers.
yeah, I know, right? It was
The
listed as like
fallen wine.
they do mention it as like a poor choice, but the reason why they mention it as a poor choice is because it's like known as like some of the best wine around, and so if you know that, right, then it kind of gives you away as being someone who can afford it. And
Okay,
like,
interesting.
yeah.
I thought it sounded familiar from Gardens or
Yep.
Deadhouse, but that's funny. Yeah, I just something I noticed. Okay, as far as likes for me, loved. I just put a couple things. Love learning about the cultures and histories of the different races. Thought that's been just awesome. I put seeing the plan come together, which is really just like, especially like the Barghast, getting the Barghast clan to unite and theoretically starting now to march on Kapistan. And then I put duel because the duel was awesome. I mean, the duel was sweet. Awesome. Yeah, super quick, punchy, ending in a way I wasn't expecting, with it being a draw basically, and just like, because it was like, to me there was like this sense of suspense leading up to it. Like finally we're gonna see what happens, and then it's just like, nope. Now you don't know what happens even longer, and it's in a different way. And it's just like, dang, I just thought that was awesome. So those are my likes. I mean, there's plenty more to like, but what were the major things that you enjoyed?
Yeah, so I think obviously the looking at the history, as you kind of mentioned, I really enjoyed that. I like the way that he is using some of these quicker fights to really like contrast different races. We don't know a lot about the Sugula, but
Mm-hmm.
like you have the way that they were able to dispatch the Kell Hunters when we've already seen Kell Hunters be dealt with now in multiple different ways. But like it kind of just sets them as like a tier above Talani Moss, which I think is like also helping us to better understand the first, sword of the Talani Moss and things like that. So I like how we're kind of getting this effect of this swirl of things that are all sort of coalescing around Kapustan, and the way that's helping us to really understand a lot of these characters and a lot of this history in a way that is making it all feel much more rich. And overall, just really love the fact that we can learn all of this stuff without really feeling like we're just getting a big old long lore dump.
Yeah.
It feels very organic.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very much like Erickson's strength. So as far as dislikes, I don't really have any dislikes. Um, maybe if anything, I'd love to see more Kruppa. More Krupp would be great as always. But
We
I
got
would
the
say the
dice
only
scene with him, where he's
yeah,
just like
you know,
winning the craziest odds at
yeah,
dice, and he's like, I don't know. And
yeah,
I love that we as the reader, like, he's probably cheating because we
yeah,
know that he does stuff like that, but like maybe I kind of like to believe that he also just has like that stupid crazy luck and that he
yeah,
is just rolling crazy
yeah,
odds.
yeah. The I would say that if I had any legitimate dislike, it would just be that this book in particular is introducing, specifically Hearthstone, is introducing a lot of subtle questions that could be easily missed. You have Whiskey Jack's leg, you have Piran's stomach. We didn't really see any continuation of this discussion about Piran being in the deck of dragons.
The master of the
Um,
deck. Yeah.
the master of the deck, we don't know what that means. All we know is he gets some tummy tingles now. And then there's like the house of, and then we have the house of chains, and like how is that going to play into the deck as well? So there are some like subtle things that could be easily missed, but seem like they're going to be relevant questions moving forward. And we didn't see anything, I don't think, with Korean Shoal beyond just them saying that them and Thalanai um, were going to be the ones fighting the Kell Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
But like presumably they're still around, but we have no idea what they're doing.
Well, they're heading yeah. So they made it back to Kapistan because at some
Yep.
point, someone, I don't remember which one, but they said, "Hey, we're your allies, and
Yep.
we'll kill all the." Basically, they said we will not kill any humans, so they're not
Yep.
going to help against the Tenniscourie, and they said we'll help until the gathering happens. Then we don't know what we're gonna do. So yeah, they're kind of there. They're gonna help temporarily until the gathering happens, which in theory will probably end up with them helping in other ways. But that's kind of where we left. Yeah, Pran Chol and that whole clan, those three bone casters and
Because I
stuff.
think it was like the chapter 8. We meet Gethel. We see the Talana Moss.
And those are three
And
bone casters. I wrote
yep.
their names down
Yep.
because it seems like they're
Yeah.
gonna be.
Yeah.
They
Important.
are named. I don't
But
remember.
then for like the
but-
rest of the events of the book, we're kind of just
yeah, they're just there. They're
Yep,
just
they're just
there.
and then I guess that actually just reminded me though, my biggest like, I just remember my biggest like, which I put in my notes. Like, I need to mention this, but the reveal that the Talani Moss have no way to know when the war is over.
Yeah, and they'll just kind of
It's
keep existing endlessly with
They're-
even if they
they're-
killed the
they're-
last Jagged. Yeah.
They have no idea. They have no way to know.
Yeah.
And so they'll just persist endlessly in the event that there's still one more out there.
Yep. Which is like
So,
it's tragic, but also at the same time, it's like y'all kind of freaking started this shit. Like I know there's been some Jagged tyrants.
Yeah.
Like I know.
Yep.
Come on, we
Yep.
we can forgive a tyrant or two, right? Like, but like man, they really committed to the bit
Yeah.
big time.
I mean, but that's the thing. It's like it's not just like we're gonna win this war. It is like we are committing to being like eternal guardians against Jagu. Like
Yeah.
we will risk living millions of years past the end of this war just to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as dislikes for me, I just wrote dense because you kind of mentioned it already. It's just like I just can't imagine reading this book without taking notes or having these discussions,
Mhm.
I feel like I am understanding what I'm meant to be understanding as I read it, but there's so much. Like we're only, let's see, we're a little under 400 pages, but there's so much that happened that like I think right now I could go back to my notes of part 1 and be like, oh yeah, there'd be a lot of like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and like even in this part when I read it a week and a half ago, and then I was reviewing my notes tonight, and it's just like I find myself forgetting a lot of stuff because there's literally everything is important, and not in a lore dumpy way, like you said. I think it is very organic. It's just like if I truly feel like I'm learning like I'm studying a history book, and I just feel like I'm not enjoying it. I just think without these discussions, I would find myself having a harder time. Especially, I mean, like I don't like Dead House Gates. I think I could have gotten through it, and I would have really taken the same thing away from Dead House Gates. But I think I took away maybe more that wasn't as important then. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but like I would have still felt the same. I would have loved Duker's journey and the Chain of Dogs. I would have loved all that. Um, but I would have forgotten a lot of it. I think leading up to it, and like I'm just trying to think of like 6 or 7 books in how I'm gonna feel like being like, oh, remember that one line from Memories of Ice, that because like literally every line is important. So that's where I'm feeling. It's just like, and I'm reading other series at the same time, and I'm finding myself like, whew, it's a lot. I mean, but all that to say, that's just me like fishing for a dislike. I'm loving. I'm having a great time, but it is demanding, very demanding and very dense. And I don't expect that to lighten up at all. So it's not really a complaint. I just found it, particularly this part, me thinking like, wow, Dead House. Maybe it is because with Dead House Gates, things were so separated that I could like internalize things a little better. But here, I mean, if you're watching and you made it this far, you probably noticed we got to certain parts where like, when was that? Like, was that here or there? And we were even struggling to remember here talking about it because like it's so like masterfully interwoven that it just is hard to remember certain things, but they're important.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. Sounds more negative than it really is. I'm like I said, I'm loving it. But let's go to predictions. So I I don't know if you see my notes. I didn't write down anything because I just seriously my brain just trying to get ready for this discussion. I was just like, I mean, like I could write down the obvious. Like I think they're going to. I do think Capistan falls. I don't think they hold the line at Capistan. But like obviously I think that siege is going to happen. I don't think talk is going to be held there indefinitely. Maybe for the rest of this book. I don't think they cure the Warrens this book at all. I think that's like our big thing coming up. But yeah, I mean, I think the gathering's gonna happen. You know, I could say all the like the big obvious things I think are gonna happen, but I don't really have any like, oh, I think it's this or anything. So I will default to you.
Okay, so my safe ones would be we get our fight at Capistan, and then Talk gets out.
Oh, you think Talk's
Um,
getting out? Okay,
yeah, I think he
like
gets
this
out. I
book
think
or
yeah,
this novel.
yeah. In this novel, I don't know. I think it would be a book 4 thing probably, or at the end of book 3. You could see that too, because book 3 is pretty big.
He needs to suffer more.
Yeah,
He's
you
not
suffer.
suffered enough.
His name's not Ramatra, Matt. Okay,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
suffering is enough. But yeah, so I think Talk gets out. I think we have a fight at Capistan. I think you're right. I think it's going to be. I think the twist is that it's not that they save Capistan; it's that they're able to get people out. I think that's the thing. They're able to save them from the Teniscari. And that's going to be good enough, right? Because then that's going to bolster their forces and really help them to do what they need to be
They've
doing.
gotten the important thing that they needed to get
Yeah,
out were those Bargas spirits, and
yeah, yeah.
they are
Yeah,
out.
no, I mean,
So
no. They let all the priests and all of the Capistanians and all of the Grey Swords die. No, it's the bones that they get out. Because then we get the Bargas, and that's all we need. Okay, this is about the Bargas.
that's what's
Yeah,
about.
yeah. But no, I think that's the thing is they're able to get people out. I do wonder who loses their life to make that happen. I certainly don't think it's the prince. He's not been positioned that way, but I could see it being like Shield Anvil, Mortal Sword. I could see it being someone important from Malazan side of things. I could see it being talk. I could see the kind of things.
I could
I think
see
like
the two children of
Mhm,
Tower.
mhm,
Which, by the way,
yep.
I feel like this is another thing that Steven Erickson does masterfully. Of like, I can't forget. He makes me forget because there's so much shit going on. Moonspawn's gonna show up. Moonspawn
Yep.
is gonna show up. I
Yep.
gotta remember that because it's just
Yeah.
like I'll go through this whole book. I didn't even think about Moonspawn once,
Yep.
not once.
Yep. I could also see it being like Corlett. Corlett could be the one who has to
No,
die. I know, but like
no.
she's being set up. She's like she made a point interest of like being lovers. So now it's like, well, don't do this to
I
me.
know. Can we just
Okay,
have one
but
set of lovers that
yeah,
make it?
I know, right? Okay, so my bold claims, are that Envy sacrifices herself to save talk. That's my bold claim number one.
Mm. Oh,
Bold
man, we
claim
didn't
number two:
so much stuff.
Silver Fox takes over for Cruel.
Oh wow, interesting.
That's bold claim number two.
Interesting.
Mm.
And you like path to that, or just like you just think we'll get to that point?
Cruel was present when she was born. It was very important. He bring Krupp into that. It was very important that it take place. Begs the question why he was there in the first place. But it was very important that take place. We know that there's something behind just Tattersail and Nightchill. There's something extra. There's something else there.
That's true.
Something worthy of Elder God status.
Mm.
There's this. She's like the first like living blood and flesh bonecaster. That was really important that she has flesh.
Mm-hmm.
So and Cruel is poisoned, and I feel like to an extent. And Kylo kind of said it like he's going to die.
Yeah, like beyond saving, so more just replace than save.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
so
that'd be crazy.
And then it kind of gets this idea of like, why is it so necessary? Because there's also this. We were given this in book part one of this book, that it isn't just that this coalescence of personalities and spirits inside of Tattersail is the what's or Silver Fox is like what's making her. There's actually a sense of urgency. Like that's why it's draining Mybi to the extent that it is, because it's this time and this place. Like Silver Fox has to get to be older as soon as possible because there's something that she needs to do. And Mybi was even the one that told us as well, is like the reason why she needs to be an adult, because kind of like the Tista Andy, her body as a child cannot like use her full powers. She needs to be older, much older, to be able to use her full powers. And so there's like a reason why she's got to be able to use her full powers as soon as possible. And at first I was like, well, maybe it's because Calor like is threatening her, but like that doesn't seem like it's enough. So I'm wondering if maybe it's because Karul is dying. Like that's the sense of urgency.
Yeah.
That's,
and like the gathering
really
is almost like just a byproduct of that.
Well, and maybe the Talon and Moss, maybe they're the ones who know what to do.
Oh yeah,
right.
Sure.
Because they knew what to do to themselves, and they created the Talon Warren as well.
That's true. Yeah.
So like I'm kind of wondering if maybe there's a reason there. Well, she'll become, maybe she doesn't like ascend or take a throne. Like maybe she literally just becomes like Karul's replacement. And it just seems unlikely that he could, even if he survived, it seems unlikely that he could go back to being what he was.
No, yeah.
It seems like this is having it's too much,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah. That's
cool. Those are my bold claims.
Yeah. I like it. Well, cool. We did it. We finished. We're halfway done. I mean, not page count wise, but part wise, we're halfway done. And so, yeah, like Ian said in the beginning of the video, I am going to be looking to the next part. It is the longest part of the book, and I am going to be gone for a week. So I think realistically, so this will go out on if you're watching this, it is probably the 10th of September. So I think you probably could expect our next video to go out on either the 1st of October or the 8th of October, if we're being conservative. Because I think there's a good chance I'm just not going to do any reading while I'm gone this week of this book. I might, but So yeah, 3 to 4 weeks I think is probably where we'll be at. But yeah,
Well, and if everything goes well, then we probably will be able to get part 3 and part 4 done by the by October the 24th. So like I leave on October 24th to go to DC for MCDC,
mm,
and I'm kind of expecting. I think with that kind of pacing, it's basically what 6 weeks from now. It kind of feels like we probably would get both parts done by
yeah,
that point,
I think we'll be done
and
by
then
then.
we'd be ready to do a book review, like a full book review, when I get back from
Yeah,
that.
I think if we get our next video out by the 1st, we'll have the following one out by the 15th. Because back to going to part 4, it's back to the same length as these, so 2 weeks probably is a good way to look at it.
Yep.
So yeah, but all in all, we'll be finishing in the next month or month and a half or so. So the whole book. But yeah, any closing thoughts before we shut her down?
Nope, just that I'm really excited for this part, honestly. So,
I know.
might as well mention it because people who are watching this might be interested. But we are talking about possibly getting some other books going. So I don't know if you wanted to say which one we were talking about.
Sure. Yeah. We're gonna be doing the Sun Eater
Mhm.
series. And we're gonna do it in the same format. It's technically not broken down into parts like this is, but we're just gonna divvy up each book into 4 parts. I think 4 is a good way to do it, and we'll just do these in-depth discussions like this. But we'll be adding Josh, if you've seen him on other videos. So we're having a 3-person discussion. Starting that next week, we're gonna start reading it. So the first of those videos will be up in the next couple of weeks as well, which is exciting. So yeah. All right.
So, yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, and
No, just gonna say thank you to everybody. And again, if you're excited about Sun Eater or other fantasy books, let us know. But we'd love to see you in those as well. Thank you for all those who are commented or who have read the books and coming back to join us because it means so much.
yeah,
But otherwise, just look forward to seeing us or hearing from us in a couple of weeks.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm Matt, and this is
And I'm Ian.
We Are
Oh, Hobby Robin.
We did it. Goodbye.